there's no one knows. We're going headed into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday. Holy shit. It's Sunday. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Criminality. Or if this is your first time here, or this is your, welcome back. I don't know which one I'm doing anymore. It's Sunday. Who fucking knows what's happening in the world? Let me say hi to you guys, and we're going to get started doing a trial review of everything that has happened in the case of Florida versus Ashley Benefield, where the state claims that she shot her husband with intent, and she claims that it was in self-defense. So I'm going to say hi to you guys. Your bro is here for the first time. Uh-oh, causing trouble. He's probably like, what the hell did you just drag me into, Francis? What's up, Shannon's Copper? Hi, LFT. What's up, Gen P? Just opened YouTube and saw T was live, and I was like, what the fuck? No notification. I'm early for a change. Well, relatively. I'm technically late. I scheduled this for 2:30, but I had to take my oldest to get a haircut because he has to have school pictures next week. So he's like, I need a haircut. And I'm like, seriously? I'm kind of busy. But that's literally my life. So, hi, Thomas. Hi, Water Loving Dog. Hi, Hybrid. Hi, James. Welcome. I don't know if I owe you an apology or if you owe me one for your brother. Totally kidding. We love Francis. Hi, Schmeed. What's up, Chelsea? Hi, Inspector Gadget. Hi, BR. Aw, you're so nice. Looking so sweet. Hi, Christina. What's up, Susan? I would love to know if Eva saw the side of him, that side of him. Again, I haven't gotten to see the trial, so not sure if it's out. According to her, he was never abusive. He was always loving, kind, very religious, cared more about others than he cared about himself. So that's pretty much her general consensus throughout most of her TikToks and everything else. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Kraken T. Can you give us the name of the artist and the song in my intro? Her name is Heather Evans, and there's a link to her YouTube video of the song. So in my description of all my videos, I think for like the last 3 months, I've had that in there because so many people ask me. So if you just go to the description of the video, it's Heather Evans, and then there's a link to her YouTube. And she's amazing. So hi, Shiraz. What's up, Christy? Hi, Sacha. There may be some differences between us about what did or didn't happen that night, but I'm sure we'll all agree that poor Eva's had it very, very rough. Yes, and I just adore Eva. Her personality. I just think she's such a sweetheart. She's such a sweetheart. What's up, Kaleido Hope? Hi, Sleuthy Goosey. Hi, Susie Q. Looking forward to this, especially after all the comments in Facebook chat. I love the different opinions, respect, and personal stories. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So, hey, Sarah. Hi, Ramblin'. What's up? What's up? Let me see. So glad she's recapping the whole trial because I was out of town and missed it all. Saw right before the openings and watched Lawyer You Know do her cross from Friday, but that's about it. We're going to talk about that too. Let me see. I just want to make sure. Hi, Dina. What's up, BGOG? Hi, Tia. I'm so obsessed with this trial because of you introducing it to us. Thank you. I'm just very surprised it didn't get more publicity. You know, there's just certain cases that you're just like, it's so controversial. And it always seems that the cases that take two very hard stances on one side or the other seem to gain that social media popularity. But this one just didn't. It's interesting. I mean, there's not even there's no big Facebook groups on it. Nothing. All right, let me get back down here. See what's going on. Hey, Scott, good to see you. Missed you. Your brother owes the apology. What's up, Anja? Hi, Paige. I'm here, but we'll be listening. I can't stop watching this trial. All your fault. Thank you. Yeah, nervous to be here. A lot of chats have been brutal. Okay, so we'll go over how I typically cover cases that have these very two hard sides of the fence. And so I will tell you guys, as always, with every case, I don't care about your opinion of the case. I don't care if you think it's self-defense. I don't care if you think that she did it. I don't care if you think it was premeditated. Your opinion is absolutely welcome here when it comes to the cases that we cover. What is not welcome here is your opinion about other people in chat or anything rude about them. So if you don't agree with somebody else's opinion in the chat, just ignore it or politely ask like for more elaboration. This case, especially right now, I think because a lot of us have kind of come together over all these other cases that we're really starting to see, like, not all of us agree. So even in my criminality Facebook chat, there's people that we don't agree. There's some people who are adamant that this is self-defense and that she was, she was scared and so on. And then there's others of us that are like, no, we don't think so. So I'm absolutely okay with all of your opinions. I just do not want you guys fighting with each other over an opinion of a case that ultimately our opinion will not have an effect on, because we are not sitting on that jury. So we're here to stay open-minded, discuss it, and just go over my thoughts, your thoughts. They're all equal. So just make sure that kindness is literally, if you're going to say something that's not kind, just take it out. C-Dub. I love how Eva isn't afraid to stare down Ashley. Yeah, she doesn't. She's like, yeah, she's like a full force. Like, I know what you did and you're going to pay for it. I have been entertained by the trial theatrics, watched every day except for Friday. You have to watch Friday, Thomas. You have to watch Friday. Shmita says, at the end of the day, I can't help but feel if you're lunging at a woman holding a gun, then you're playing a stupid game and most likely going to win a stupid prize. That's if you believe that he was lunging at her. ICW, I found this trial a bit boring. I've only been keeping up via YouTuber recaps. We talked about this too, because we just came off of the Karen Reed case. I don't know, CW, were you watching that case? The lawyering was so good, and just, I mean, you're just like sucked into watching every minute of anything that defense team did. This is very different, and boring is kind of, I mean, it's a good adjective to use, but they're going through it very quickly, at least. So that could be good or bad. I mean, it can be detrimental to either side by trying to go through this as fast as they are. There you go. Be nice or be quiet. Words to live by. Hi, Black Swan. What's up? And Black Swan in chat has had her name long before it was given to Ashley Benefield. Yeah, I don't really do politics. Yeah, I don't do politics because then it's another one of those we're just going to end up fighting with each other about our opinions on life. And if you're ever curious about my stance on politics, you're welcome to ask, but I typically don't talk about it. This went so much faster than Reed. Oh yeah, they said it was only allotted for 2 weeks. They thought maybe 1, maybe 2 weeks, but we're right in the middle of the defense's case in chief, and then we have the state's rebuttal, which is what I'm really curious about. I'm really curious about the rebuttal, because in this case, it's essentially what happened is she's got an affirmative defense. She's not denying that she did it. She's saying, I did it. She's just saying, I did it for this particular reason. And so it almost makes it go back to the state where they now have to prove that she's lying, versus the other way, which is like they just have to prove that she did it, right? So there's no question whether she did it or not. We all know she did it. All right, hold on. Other lawyers pale in comparison to AJ. It's tough to come It's tough to come off a trial where the lawyers are just so good at their jobs. I don't know how I feel. I'll be interested in the convo here. I believe the exes have said he's abusive. I think it's hard for a family member to admit it. No names mentioned. I don't know what ex has said that he was abusive, unless you're referring to the text messages with Renee over a almost 20-year relationship. But hold on for a second, because then you have to go, and I don't know if they're going to call him. I don't even know if he's going to be allowed to be called as a witness. You have to go with her ex-husband and what he had to say about her. So you got to kind of play equal sides on that. What's up, Ginger? Hey, oh snap, Ginger. What? I normally just watch from the bushes. I love your channel. Oh, get out of the bushes. They just need some rubber ducks. I think everybody at this point just needs fucking rubber ducks. I need to get my dang Trump duck. The defense attorney definitely has a take getting used to voice and cadence. Yeah. He's an interesting attorney. I'm not a huge fan. You did, Jessica? Oh, that's so sweet. Lovely. That is true. We don't know if he lunged. I do find it odd that she sent her mom and son out of the house. Right. She's so afraid of him, but yet sent her mom out of the house. This judge is very good. The We Stand with Ashley movement has tried to claim that he is very biased, and that there's been a lot of collusion between law enforcement, the judges, and whatnot, and that she's not getting a fair trial here. I think he's extremely fair. What's up, Dizzy? Ashley Benefield got me with her hyperventilating. I don't believe her until she got on the stand. I didn't believe her until she got on the stand. Oh, so you actually changed your mind once she got on the stand. Oh, Dizzy, thank you. I like it in a ponytail. I hate my hair down. I hate it down. Annie Elise has a great video on this case, too, from a year ago. A lot I learned about the way Ashley was, too. She was not a saint. No. Hey, JC Creations. Oh, speaking of the alleged text from the deceased wife, having phones with prices for text messages and having to hit one button for every letter, I doubt that long-winded of a text is valid. That was back when we had to go, I don't know, I could text really fucking fast. I'll tell you that right now. I didn't even have to look at my phone. I was like, now I actually have to pay attention to what I'm doing. That's either because of my age or the phone. I'm going to say it's the phone's fault. Answer says, and had 3 guns ready to go. Everything else was packed. That's a huge thing for me. Yeah, you have your entire house is essentially packed. You're getting ready to leave within that next couple of days. You're planning on leaving. The original statements that they were supposed to be moving that Monday, but then we know that they had the hearing on Wednesday. So, and then she testifies that it's kind of tentative. Her testimony definitely took me off the middle line too. Okay, hold on. I got a dog scratching at the door. So let me take care of that. T has that Dewey Olympic opening ceremony look. C-Dub, you're silly. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me let the dog out, and I'm gonna queue up a video in just a second. Okay, so let me cue this up. So for me, if anybody is curious and you just want to know, like, okay, I'm only going to watch you if you agree with me. If you're one of those types of people, then I'll tell you what my opinion is. My opinion is that I absolutely believe that this was premeditated. I will not discount that she had any form of fear back in 2017, because what happened and he admitted to was absolutely inexcusable. But in 2020, I do believe that this was a premeditated crime. And I think that she intentionally, her mom was not going to be in the house with the daughter. She knew that come Wednesday, whether they want to say it in court or not, that there was a very good chance that this judge, being so pissed at her for filing all of the injunctions, child abuse claims, everything that had been found to not have a scintilla of evidence to support it by this very same judge, that she very well could lose custody, because Doug was not just, there was not just an injunction. Doug was actually filing for divorce at this time. And so if she was deemed to be an unfit mom, she very well could have lost her kid altogether. And they were moving to Maryland, and Maryland is not a stand your ground state. So there would have been no stand your ground defense. So I will not discount that I think that their relationship was absolutely toxic. I think it absolutely was. But for me, it's this, she got away. So there, a lot, even, I'm just kind of skipping ahead, but even a lot with the domestic abuse expert that they had for the Dauber hearing on Friday. And if you guys didn't see that part, we'll talk about it. But even with him talking, I would beg anybody to go back and listen to what he said about an abuser, but think of it as the opposite. Think about the fact that if he was testifying for Doug, and see how much of what he says actually fits Ashley Benefield. Okay, so I'm going to play you guys this clip. So so if you're like, you know what, I'm only going to listen to somebody who has the same opinion as me. I'm going to put my opinion straight out there. I think that she did it. I think she did it intentionally. I think it was planned. I think she knew that there was a good chance that Doug could take her kid permanently, or that he was going to find out that her ruse, if that's what you want to say it was her ruse was going to be up. The jig was up. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys this video. I think that their relationship was toxic. But when I say, like, she had gotten away, and like even the experts, like, we know in the same household, it's harder for this person to get away. She had gotten away. She wasn't with him. She hadn't lived with him since 2017. For somebody, and I'm just going to say this, for somebody who's afraid of their significant other, they don't live together, she has no problem telling him no. She has no problem telling him, so he's supposed to move into her mom's house. And I'm jumping all over the place, so I apologize. He's supposed to move into her mom's house. And she just ghosts him. She ghosts him. She just says, yeah, they get in an argument. She doesn't want him moving in, and she ghosts him. Guess what? Guess what doesn't happen? There's no abuse. There's no abuse around that entire time. He literally has nowhere to live, and there's no abuse. What part's not true? Oh, the part about living together even though scared of them? No, I'm not talking about that's what he said. The expert testimony during the Dauber hearing was talking about spouses living together. So I was basing what I'm saying off of what he said. So she did not fear a repercussion of telling him anything. She did not fear a repercussion of the fact that she was dating somebody else, and he knew about it, and they had conversations about it. There was no fear. Okay, hold on. Why can I not get this to go where I want it to? I think that there was absolute reason for her to leave in 2017. I have no issue with that. He wasn't supposed to move to Florida. So what had happened was they had decided she wanted to have a baby. So they had his vasectomy reversed, which she paid for. Remember, so there's no like he tricked her into it. She paid for it. She wanted to have a baby. And there's this whole fight. The one huge fight that is the common denominator in all of the stories is from this spring of 2017, where he literally, I can probably pull up. I have a little bit of audio from his deposition where he's talking about that he thinks he was having a nervous breakdown. He's like, I was stressed beyond the max. We were struggling with the ballet company. You know, Ashley was pissed off about Eva all the time. Eva's pissed off about Ashley all the time. The investors are like backing out. He's like, I was under so much pressure. I just felt like I was having a nervous breakdown. He's like, I don't know if that's legit what it was. I don't know what the definition of it is, but that's how I felt. And then they get in this huge fight where the prosecutor's like, he kept telling you to stop. And she's like, oh yeah. And she's like, but you didn't stop. Like, he's telling you stop. And so he grabs something that he had very nearby because he had taken the stuff out of his car, and he grabs the gun and throws it, and it hits the wall. So right there, this whole situation, this fight still continues. This is when the dog situation happens. It goes from like punching the dog off of him to hitting the dog off of him. The semantics of the word change a little bit. And it goes to when he shoots the gun into the ceiling. So I absolutely think that she should have left. There's no doubt in my mind that she should have left, that this was not going to go well for them in their relationship at all. Hi, B Crumbs. So then she got pregnant, and she's like, well, was it on purpose? And it's like, it was on purpose. You guys, you wanted to have a kid, but the doctors had told them that after a reversal of a vasectomy, it might take a little longer. So she wasn't expecting to get pregnant as quickly as she did. So, but she gets pregnant, and then she's not well during her pregnancy. She got really bad morning sickness and whatnot. He's busy because he travels for work, number one. He's also doing this whole thing with this ballet that she wanted. And she wants to go stay with her mom in Florida because there'll be somebody that could help take care of her. And then remember, at this time, there's 2 teenage girls living in the house because Eva's living there with her friend. And so Ashley's like, yeah, I just like this, it would be better. So he drives her down there and takes her down there. I think they take like a suitcase. So this is August 27th of 2017. She had just found out she was pregnant like 2 weeks, maybe. I mean, just a couple of weeks. Like, she was very, very new pregnant. She got pregnant in July. So she's very, very new pregnant. And first trimesters can suck. I mean, I've been there, so I get it. But so she goes to stay with her mom. On September 18th, she drives back up to South Carolina and packs all of her stuff and leaves him that weirdly worded 4-page letter that we read through, and takes all of her stuff and then leaves. My problem here is nothing happens. Nothing happens. I mean, they are fighting. He's like, I want you to come back. Like, you can't just take all your stuff and go. But there's no physical altercations. There's nothing that really happens during that time besides just, I mean, fighting over the fact that she left and the way she left. But nothing physical, no violence. And she's not backing down. So there's not a fear that he's going to come and take her or hurt her. She's still in the same address that he dropped her off at. And they go to court to get an injunction. They never even have the hearing. What ends up happening is they're like, you know what? We're just going to take a break from each other. They essentially agree to not talk to each other for a little while. So like, just give each other, space so that it doesn't turn into anything crazy. And this is when he sends the package for her birthday with the tea set in November. So, okay, I'm going to play this for you guys, though, because otherwise I'm going to get totally off track and we're going to keep talking about other shit. And I am on a time limit because I have dinner with my madre this evening.
Like a fairy tale, a beautiful...
Oh, let me get rid of the... First of all, can you guys hear it? Let me just double check that first. I agree, Scott. Thomas, Scott. Yep, I agree. Hey, Melmac. AB paid for the vasectomy reversal. She got pregnant. She dipped on DB and the ballet company. While DB was co-founder of 4 companies, DB didn't know how to run a ballet company. Very stressful. Yes, and in the interview of the manager of the ballet company, he goes on to say Ashley had no idea what she was doing. So that's why things were starting to go really badly, because she did not have a clue what she was doing. And so that was another reason I think she dipped, because she was like, shit, I don't know what to do. Yep, heard it. Okay. Hey, Lady Claymore.
It seemed like a fairy tale. A beautiful ballerina, seen here dancing in the Nutcracker for the Maryland Youth Ballet, swept off her feet by a dashing older man. Married after only 13 days, Doug and Ashley Benefield seemed like they had it all. But less than 4 years later, Doug would be dead and Ashley charged with murder. Her trial in this Florida courtroom, dubbed the Black Swan murder trial.
The only person standing in your way is you.
After the movie starring Natalie Portman.
Because of your ballet background, some people have labeled you the Black Swan.
Yeah.
What does that feel like?
I think what it comes down to is that the Black Swan has a catchy ring and it sensationalizes my life and my situation. And so they ran with it. And it's sad to me that people who don't even know me have this idea of a monster when they think of me.
Doug and Ashley met in 2016 at a political event. They instantly connected despite their 30-year age difference.
She does a lot.
Doug was a recently widowed father to a teenage daughter, Eva.
With her, I'm so sad, and then she'll smirk.
At her stepmother's trial, Eva testified about the early days of their romance.
They were just with each other all the time. It was very lovey-dovey. They never left each other's side.
Doug even reversed his vasectomy so he and Ashley could have a child together. But their whirlwind romance started to crumble. The ballet company they started together failed. Soon, their marriage fell apart.
Ms. Benefield was alleging that Doug had been violent toward her. She alleged that he, I think, had hit the dog, fired a gun into the ceiling. The biggest allegation was that he was poisoning her and their child in utero with heavy metals.
In text messages submitted as evidence, Doug admitted to shooting a gun in the home, writing, "I shot the gun. How many times did I tell you I was having a nervous breakdown?" And punching their dog.
This was 3 years earlier. So this is the situation from 3 years earlier is what she continues to use as the domestic violence. It was 3 years prior. She'd already left. They were already going to get divorced. And she decided, nope, not going to get divorced. She's the one who dropped her. She was the one who originally filed for divorce, and she took it back. And then she's extremely afraid of this man, yet has no problem claiming that he's sexually abusing their daughter, physically abusing their daughter, telling him he can't move in after all of his stuff is literally outside in the driveway and she just won't answer the door. Saying that signing a lease with him at his apartment, his new apartment, and then not moving in, not worried about the fear there, not worried about dating somebody else when she's with him, and showing up wearing a ring, even though she said it's not an engagement ring. A ring that was given to her by him, by the guy she's dating. She has none of those things. She's not afraid of any of that. That makes no sense to me. If I'm deathly afraid of this man, when in the world would I ever say, oh yes, he's sexually and physically abusing my child, his child, and then think that he's not going to do something to me? And she's like, I would never say anything bad in front of him. That was one of her things she says on the stand. Let me see. Let me check in these guys. It's been said that AB scoped DB a pre-political campaign night she was working. So that's another thing we haven't heard about in the trial. And so this is what I was talking about in my criminality chat too. It's because if you watch all the pre-trial stuff and you listen to all the pre-trial interviews done, it's really hard to see her as a victim in this for me. And I'm trying to separate what I know from the outside to what I know from what the jury is actually seeing. the judge made it very clear, like he did not want to have a injunction hearing, a family court hearing, a child custody hearing within his murder trial that he was having. So he took a lot of the stuff that happened before and got rid of. He essentially said, we're not going to use any of it. And then as little things kind of came up, it was like, okay, the defense says, I want to use this piece. And it's like, okay, well, you can use this piece. And then the prosecution's like, okay, well, then we want to use this piece. And he's like, okay, you can use that piece. So like these little bits and pieces are coming in, and the entire context around it is not being told to the jury. It's like, it's crazy. But you if you've watched the trial, you'll see like, even as testimony's coming out, he's revisiting some of the people that he originally had said we're not going to be able to come in. He was like, nope, I'm not going to let this person testify because it has too much with that. And he's like, okay, let's revisit it now. Let's revisit it now. And so more and more is coming in. So now I'm extremely curious about what the prosecution's rebuttal is going to be based on everything that they're saying now. And I don't even want to get into her testimony too much yet, because that's a whole nother thing.
After an argument about his daughter. I punched the dog because you got me so mad, like you wouldn't stop about Eva, always Eva. Ashley sat down exclusively with 2020 co-anchor Deborah Roberts just before her trial began.
How are you doing?
It depends on the moment. Yeah, there's good days and rough days, good moments and rough moments.
You haven't spoken out before. Why did you decide to talk now?
I'm really doing it for other people because I know I'm not alone in this. There are women all over the country, all over the world who have gone through or are going through hard situations behind closed doors until you have been there or it's someone that you know and care about. It's not something that you think about.
While pregnant with the couple's daughter, Ashley moved to Florida. Doug's former attorney testifying Ashley didn't tell Doug when she had the baby.
Gosh, we didn't know for a good 5 or 6 weeks after she was born.
He only found out when Ashley filed a restraining order.
And so on May 6th, I saw that Ms. Benefield had filed a petition for protection against domestic violence. And in that filing, there was, she identified the birth date of the child, as well as I think the child's name, which is the first time we learned about that too. Okay.
In opening statements, prosecutors claiming Ashley wanted Doug out of her life so she could raise their daughter alone.
This case is about a woman who very early on in her pregnancy decided she wanted to be a single mother. When there was no other option, she shoots him and kills him and claims self-defense.
But Ashley's attorney countering that she was trapped in an abusive relationship.
Doug Benefield was a manipulative, cunning, and abusive man who absolutely insisted on control.
Doug's cousin Tommy also sitting down with 2020.
I'm here today to tell Doug's story because he's not here. We want to tell the truth. We want to acknowledge his flaws, his mistakes like he did, but we want him to be remembered for the great human man that he was.
Things came to a head on September 27, 2020. Doug was helping Ashley load a U-Haul at her mother's house. They were planning on moving to Maryland, with Doug living separately. According to court documents filed by the defense, Ashley says Doug struck her, hitting her on the side of her head, and then tried to keep her from leaving the room. The clinical psychologist who had previously evaluated Ashley and Doug testifying.
When I saw her after the incident, there was edema, swelling on the side of her face.
Ashley claims she feared for her life and shot him multiple times in self-defense before running to her neighbor's house.
She's with me now, quite upset. The weapon is here. We need the police before her mother and the little girl gets back from the park. I don't want them to find this.
Now 32, Ashley choking back tears as jurors heard that 911 call.
She came in, she was quite hysterical. I didn't know who was banging on my door, said that he attacked her and she shot him. They've been having trouble.
Doug's adult daughter, Eva, telling 2020 she doesn't believe it was self-defense.
If it was self-defense, why did she shoot multiple times? You know, if I was defending myself in a situation, I would shoot once and I wouldn't shoot to kill. I wouldn't take a life away.
In court, the medical examiner testified that the gun was fired from at least 3 feet away.
I determined the manner of death to be homicide.
No one is disagreeing that Doug Benefield died at the hands of another. The question is whether or not that death was justified by what Ashley Benefield perceived in that moment.
There was always this little thought in the back of my head that said Ashley's going to do something to him. Ashley's going to sabotage him somehow. So when that happened, I was obviously shocked, but that little voice in the back of my head said I was right. She did. She killed him.
Outside court,
That's their daughter.
advocates for survivors of domestic violence have rallied around Ashley, including her mother and daughter Emerson, now 6 years old.
But we want the truth. We want everything out there so people will see that Ashley is not guilty for what they say she is.
The prosecution rested their case today. The defense begins tomorrow.
The defense is going to put on witnesses and evidence to try to argue that she had reason to fear for her life based on the months and years of abuse.
The jury of 5 women and 1 man are expected to begin deliberating Ashley's fate next week.
You could possibly go to jail for a very long time.
It's a horrible reality. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. Emerson's already been through a lot. I can't imagine how this would affect her if things were to go poorly at trial.
Okay. So, and I agree. Eva says, like, I would do this and I would do that. And I think that's just, that's a young and she doesn't have any idea what she would really do. I don't think any of us know what we would do, but we do know that Ashley continued to shoot. She wasn't stopping. She didn't stop shooting and then go to the neighbors. What happened was the gun jammed and she no longer could shoot the gun. And then she went to the neighbors. So Doug was not dead when she left the house. Doug lived for like another almost hour and a half after the shooting. He just, unfortunately, was not able to tell his side because he couldn't speak, because the way where he was shot at, it had punctured his lungs and the lungs were filling with blood and he could not speak. So I just want to show you guys, I'm going to show you guys this too real quick. I'm not playing this entire thing. This is a lot, but if anybody is interested in a little bit more of the backstory on this, you should go and watch. It's a 2-day hearing, 1 full day, 1 part day of the stand your ground hearing. But I want you guys to see the difference in what she looks like from the stand your ground hearing to now. And then tell me that it's not intentional. Let me see if I can find the part that I wanted to play for you real quick. But there's so much information in this hearing. Full makeup, hair's done.
Any good, any good, any good.
So, like I said, this hearing tells a lot. So, just a very different appearance, in my opinion. See, Teresa, one, I'm very sorry that you ever endured that. We have quite a few people who are in the chat who have gone through something very similar, and which no matter, I struggle with this because I don't want to take away from her having any type of fear. It's not that I don't think that she had fear. I think she had fear back in 2017. I don't think that she was afraid going into the rest of this entire relationship with any form of fear. I don't. I think that she researched him knowing he was going to be a speaker at this political event because she worked for Trump at the time. She researched him, liked him, knew what she was doing, and got involved with him on purpose. She thought he had money. He was a perfect, target, in my opinion, because he had just lost his wife 9 months before, and it was very easy for her to study him, get to know everything about him, and then approach him at this benefit. She marries him after 13 days, moves in with him, and then pays for him to get a vasectomy so that she can have a child. Within weeks of knowing that she's pregnant, she leaves, stating, "Oh, I'm going to leave because I don't feel good." He's still driving down there. So like there was a hurricane coming. He's still driving to Florida and buying them. That's what the pretrial stuff says, is that she did. Her Google searches show that she was looking him up. Her Google searches show that she was looking up. This is my issue with this case right now, is so much of this stuff is not coming into this trial. It's frustrating to me because the jury's not going to know that. The jury should know that she was Googling him. I mean, she'd probably play it off. Well, yeah, of course, I was working this benefit, and this is part of my job, so of course I studied him. I'm sure that there'd be some type of whatever that she could come up with as an excuse for why she did it. She gets pregnant with this kid and immediately leaves and cites, "Hey, yeah, you know what? I don't feel good." And then all of a sudden she's like, "Okay, I'm leaving you for good." There's statements that are made by her stating that she wants to raise her child with her mother and not with Doug. But here's the thing, is like some of this stuff that I'm telling you guys won't even matter because the jury's not going to hear it. Hi, Carla. Okay, so let me get rid of this one. Sleuthie Goosey, did you have a question? I said I saw you say something like, "I want to know this," and then oh yeah, it is intent. Yeah, likely at the advice of her attorney. Let me see. That's why the evidence that's been admitted, she should be found not guilty so far, but the state still gets to rebound. The state still gets to do their rebuttal on what the defense has presented. I don't know. And this also comes down to lawyering. That is the prosecution going to be able to pull off what they're trying to? Do they have a plan that I just don't see yet? Because as of right now, I'm like, I don't. And the only thing that really goes against her, in my opinion, is her own testimony. And that could go two very different ways. I saw people that were extremely upset by the way that the prosecutor treated her on cross. And then I've also seen people who are thinking that the prosecutor just didn't get where they wanted. They didn't get her to go where they wanted her to go, if that makes sense. It could be. It could be. It could be. I don't know. So she's an immature narcissist that has been enabled her whole life by her mother. Right. That's what I think. That's exactly what I think. And then my other point to like when she testifies is if we go with the fact that for 3 years she was acting like she was in love with Doug to lead him on in order to protect her daughter, then we know that she's an actress. So like, how do we take what she says on the stand as fact? Oh, know about the Stand Your Ground hearing? Yeah, you should watch it, Sleuthie. I have it's really long, and a lot of it right now is some of it's kind of repetitive because they have the attorney on the stand that we've heard from, but she gets to say a lot more here. They show a lot more pictures of him. at the scene than they show in the trial. What else is there? The Emmy testifying, very similar but not the same. They go through text messages, so on. Yeah, the prosecution went way too hard and made me sympathetic towards AB. All right, so we'll watch that too. Let me leave this one real quick, and then I thought I had something else I wanted to show you guys. Oh no, that's for later. Okay, hold on. Let's go back. Because I failed at doing this on a daily basis like my plan was, we have quite a bit to kind of go through. So I'm just going to try to touch on some of the stuff, because a lot of this is not necessarily the newer stuff. I'm not sure that Tia says, I'm not sure that the state has done their job if it comes down to a chess game of lawyers for me, right? And I don't know if any of these lawyers are good enough to pull off either theory. I know that sucks, but it's kind of how I feel. And this is in Florida, they still allow a 6-member jury even on felony charges. So there's only 6 jurors, 5 of whom are women, 1 man. Shmita says, I don't think she helps herself by any means on the stand, but in my opinion, it's on the prosecution to prove motive and malicious intent, which is not sold they have yet, as much as I don't trust Ashley. Kind of. So motive technically doesn't have to be part of it. But I think that they're trying to talk about this whole hearing from the 30th, which now is a battle of the lawyers taking the stand, the family attorney lawyers, one saying this was happening on the 30th, the other one saying that was happening on the 30th. To me, it's irrelevant, because either way, she was going in front of this judge on the 30th that did not like her at all. The part that is somewhat relevant in this is that there was a chance that she could lose custody, because the reports, the evaluations from the doctor were most likely coming out that day. There was, as his attorney says, and if you look at the family court docs, they had gone through mediation and told the mediator that they were reconciling and that there was no need for the injunction. And then she wanted him to drop he had now filed for divorce. She wanted him to get rid of that. So, I mean, that's another thing. He filed for divorce. So she was like, okay, like she could have been like, okay, great, we're done. Let's, go with our time sharing and everything will be hunky dory. Don't forget, she tried to get rid of his parental rights, legally get rid of his parental rights when she was still pregnant with Emerson. Emerson wasn't even alive yet. So this was way before these claims of sexual or physical abuse. How many bullets hit him? From my understanding, it was 2, but then the way that he kind of talked about it during his examination, when the Emmy took the stand, it almost sounded like 3. But the initial report that I had read was that the one bullet had like almost grazed his arm and then entered his chest, like it being the same bullet. I don't know. How did you guys interpret what he said on the stand, though? Because it almost made it seem like the one that hit his arm was a completely separate bullet, but that was not what I was ever under the impression of. I was always under the impression it was 2. One that kind of grazed his arm, entered his chest, and then the one in his leg. So Answer says it was a hell. I thought her entire testimony was ridiculous. I thought she was extremely fake. It was hard for me to watch. It was hard for me to watch because of her, though, because I thought she was extremely fake. I was like, where's the actual tears? I think I saw 1 actual tear fall from her face. She had no wet tissues. None of her tissues were wet at all. None of them got sobby wet. She's wiping her face and there's no wetness. And that it was like a forced child crying. I struggled to watch it. Like I even told my husband, I'm like, come and look at this. Come and look at this. This is so ridiculous. I need somebody to witness this with me. And the judge offered her a tissue after she was already wiping her face with a tissue. It doesn't surprise me that Bob cried. Bob is such a fucking empath. He just feels the pain. He feels it. And I don't know. I think he believes her. I just didn't. I would ask him to rewatch her testimony, and actually pay attention to her face. Yeah, Amber. It was a total Amber Heard moment to me. I was like, if she sniffed a line of coke out of that napkin, I wouldn't be surprised. Like Amber Heard. That's where I was at with it. I'm going to go with T with the violence and the timeline now. My husband is bipolar. We had very rough years until he got into therapy. There's no way he's the same person today. Well, and for the family court, the judge, and we talked about this a little bit on the pre-trial live, the judge calls it like an isolated, what did she call it? Like situational abuse. Like there was this, like an incident. I don't know what the word she used was, but it was like there was obviously this very traumatic, not okay event that took place in 2017. But he recognized that he thought he was having a nervous breakdown, and he did start going to therapy and talking to his priest or pastor about the situation and trying to get help. And so that's what he says, like in his deposition. He's like, I did these things. They're unlike me. I knew I was on the verge of a mental breakdown, and so I had to get help. And same thing he tells her in the text messages. And the judge in the family court agrees. Like there has been nothing of any type of domestic abuse, violence, anything since this one huge fight that you guys got in South Carolina that caused the injunction in South Carolina. You cried? Oh, Amy, I'm sorry. Hi, Jen Lou. What's up? Hi, honey. Thanks for the late notification on YouTube. Doesn't that sound like the words of a DV victim? Right, that he went to get the help. That's why I said the very last person who, he's not really testifying, but takes the stand on Friday is the domestic abuse, quote unquote, expert for the defense. He didn't really testify because he was only testifying for the Daubert hearing, so there was no jury in the room. But if you go back and listen to like what he says, he talks a lot. It's a lot. But I was like, this is very curious. If we pay attention and we reverse the people they're actually referring to, how this is very fitting either way. Toxic relationship. TDU and a place I could go read about all the stuff she did, etc., or a channel. I only started watching the other day. You can I talk about a lot of this stuff on the 4-hour pre-trial live that I did. There's a lot of it I discussed there. I can drop some of the documents and stuff in the criminality chat if you want them. They're very public. I mean, you can just go to the Manatee website. I can't say to take the risk. Like what it is described. I can't go with, well, it was only once, not like him. That actually sounds like an abuser. Hold on, I got to reread that because I can't say to take the risk like what is described. I can't go with, well, it was only once, not like him. That actually sounds like an abuser. Okay. I think I understand what you're saying, Amy, but I don't know if I'm taking it out of context. So you think what even it being the isolated incident from 2017, and then him saying like, look, I'm getting help, this, that, and the other, actually is a sign. Like, you think that sounds like an abuser? That's fair. Amanda, you're never in a minority. You believed her on her cross and her direct. All right, let's do this. Let's pull up. Let me get a poll going. What should the question be? Where's Shibby? Shibby doesn't like my poll questions. This is probably going to echo questions. There you go. Okay. Let me get a poll going. Do we think that should we just go guilty or innocent? Should we go self-defense, no self-defense? What do you want it to be? Didn't he kick his second wife and videotape them without her consent? So it could be a pattern from before he met Ashley. Well, we don't know that to be true. What we have is a screenshot from a phone that Ashley supposedly found of Doug's old phone. There was obviously never anything documented in that relationship. There was they don't have any witnesses to say that anything happened in his first relationship, not so far anyway. They were together for almost 20 years. He says they literally had five, I think he says to Ashley, we had like 5 fights and we ended up laughing at all of them. Not to mention, one of the texts talks about that he was on Viagra, and he was in his late 20s, early 30s at the time. Not to say that he can't take Viagra at that age. It's just kind of a fucking weird thing to do. You got questions for me? Oh, goodness. Hi, Jordan. I didn't see her actually cry at all. I think there was one tear I saw. I felt like they shouldn't have let it in if it wasn't verified, but like Amy said, the prosecution wasn't fighting it. They let him in. Francis. Guess I'll make a checklist. Okay. And that's another thing is like, if the defense has that he was abusive, even if with Eva being little and maybe not remembering, there are 2 older children that were raised in the household with him as their stepdad. You think the message that she found isn't true? Yeah, that's I think another part is I don't know how they could actually confirm it one way or the other. With social media and active in politics, modern younger peeps often research a potential partner looking for criminal background, etc. True. An abuser makes their victim feel like they are to blame for things they haven't done and things they haven't said and drive them to a mental breakdown, just like AB did to DB. I have not seen the sons in court. You know what? I haven't actually paid attention to see if they're in court. I will look. I did not recognize them if they were there. Obviously, we know Eva's there. His cousin Tommy is there, and both of his brothers have been there. Both of Doug's brothers have been there. One brother, I think, has literally been there the entire time. Daytime says, I don't believe there are real messages either. Again, makes no sense. But also, it's very weird that she randomly finds these old phones and she starts looking through messages of his messages with his ex-wife or his deceased wife. We also have there's another wife. There's his first wife that was a very short-term relationship. We also have her first husband, who they do have a statement from, but I don't know if they're going to call him on rebuttal. I'll be very curious if they do. Quietly Concerned says, I don't think he was a perfect person. Nope, me either. He hurt the dog, and for that, I probably would have shot him then. I shouldn't say that out loud. People are gonna be like, oh my gosh. But I'm just saying, like, that would have been when I really fucking lost my shit, is when he hit my dog. He touched my fucking dog, and shit's gonna go really bad. Hold on, now let me finish it. The fact he married her without telling his daughter after 13 days says everything about him, but I don't think he deserves to die. Ashley claiming he essayed her baby, but then invites him over to help her move. Yeah, every mother in the world does not buy that. You could say it, Thomas. You could say it. I stepped on a bee. Yeah, said he threw the cat too. She says that from what I've read so far, he doesn't admit to throwing the cat, but he does admit to hitting the dog. And maybe because I don't have his full deposition, so maybe there's more in it that I don't have where he actually admits to throwing the cat. But there's also the conflict of, she says that he knocked the dog unconscious. He says no, that is not what happened. But either way, I'm like, you fucking hit the dog. Are the pretrial videos on YouTube? Yes, they are. All the pretrial is on YouTube. Let me see. Where was I? What did I? I think they're all on, like, Law and Crime. If you can't find it on the regular Law and Crime, go to Law and Crime Trials. Okay. Let's just go with, I'm sorry, going back to my poll. Do you believe Ashley? Do you believe it was, let's go, do you believe it was self-defense? Do you believe Ashley? Let's do that. We'll do that one first. If you guys come up with a better question, let me know. Let's see what we get. Well, he says hit and he says punch. So I don't know if he's just like placating her, what was saying like it's the same thing. But he says, like, one of the times he's like, I hit the dog off of me. Like, the dog jumped on me, it was clawing me, and I hit the dog off of me. The other time he's like, yes, I told them I punched the dog. Yes, I said this. So he kind of says both. Thank you, Daytime Emmy Award. Go enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'll see you soon. Thanks for being here. If you don't know or you think maybe, should I put I have no idea? Should I put that in there? Well, if you have no idea, I think then you have to think that she's innocent as of now. But yeah, so like Patricia said, everything she says to justify using deadly force has no linear or step-by-step events leading to some kind of vicious attack from Duck. She is repeating a trope from genuine DV victims that she has clearly researched. I agree with that. And I mean, remember, she lived with this psychologist for almost a year afterward. Someone's pulling your comments. Probably YouTube. They're like, Francis, we are not going to let you talk. Going from just her cross and what little things I heard about it, like the dog stuff earlier, I believed her, but now knowing more, I'm not sure. Either way, not sure the state is going to win. Right. I think the rebuttal is going to be the big thing. Hi, Sonny. My ex was an abuser and said if I agreed to not divorce him, he'd get help. I said no thanks and left. Good for you. Good for you. I don't know. That is some like coming. I'm very happy for you that you got to get away. Make one Viagra joke and YouTube shuts you down. Shamina says, it's just sad to me that I have seen cases where women were viciously beat and abused and still convicted for acting in self-defense. This case is so hard for me to decide on. I also don't want to just believe her just because we should just believe anybody who says that this happens. I just don't think that's right either. I don't think that's not justice for Doug, and that's not justice for Eva and Emerson. Okay, so let me see. Let's see how much of this do we want to read through. Let's see where you guys are at on your poll first. Well, this is interesting. So self-defense, it's still going. People are still voting. Okay, there's twice as many of you in here, so a lot of you haven't voted. Make sure you guys vote on the poll before I close it. Hey, Muscles and Mascara. I love this combo because I felt bad for her doubting her testimony and the entire story. It seemed weird. That's where I'm at. And Gilletta, that's a great point. It very well could be both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Ashley wanted Doug to choose Ashley over Eva because Ashley read in the diary that Eva didn't like her. Yep. And she was mad that that Eva destroyed the shadow box that she got her in order to put her own mom's rose from her mom's funeral in there. Hey, Greenlee. I'm sorry, but this girl is a psychopath. She's calculated and manipulative. You don't have, why are you sorry? I don't think so. I'm in agreement with you. Okay, so I'm going to touch on some of this stuff really quick, just for anybody who hasn't actually seen it. So we had the opening statements on Tuesday. Prosecution says that tried several ways of using the system to get rid of Doug, and no one believed her because there was no evidence to support a lot of her claims, such as the poisoning. I was talking about this in the chat last night too. She says that he gave her this tea set that she said, you know, how she opened the box and it smells strongly like chemicals, and so she puts it in the garage. So she thinks it's like tainted, but she just sticks it in the garage instead of actually getting rid of it or taking it to the police station. She leaves it there for days. And then she uses that same tea that he had sent her in November when she goes into the hospital in March to tell them that she's been poisoned. She says that it was the tea that he gave her for her birthday that poisoned her and the baby. So was she drinking the tea after she thought it smelled like chemicals and from November to March? Or did she think that she had been poisoned back in November but doesn't go and tell her OBGYN anything about that she feels like she was poisoned and how to test the baby or herself? She waits till March. And remember, the South Carolina injunction was actually only for 6 months. So come around that due date in April, he would have been allowed to see the baby because there was no injunction anymore. So she goes in 3 weeks before her due date, and she goes in 3 weeks before her due date and says, I've been poisoned with this tea that he gave me back in November, and gets them to do an emergency C-section, and then she puts her name, they put her name as a DV quote unquote victim. They put it under her middle name, Christina. We haven't heard that in the trial yet either, which is interesting. Not only that, she doesn't give the baby Emerson. She doesn't give the baby her last name, Byers, which is her maiden name, or Doug's name, Benefield. She gives the baby the last name of her mom's maiden name. To hide the fact that she gave birth to the baby. Then she takes the baby and has over 40 hours of putting herself and this brand new baby into this chamber where it's supposed to rid her body of all these metal toxins that she supposedly has in her system from this tea that he sent her back in November. Let me see. Paige, although she's just a regular trial watcher like us. I know her from X. Who are we talking about? Who are we talking about, Dizzy? Who are we talking about? Do you think mental and emotional abuse is always able to be proven with evidence? Yes and no. So I think it's a lot of that is circumstantial evidence. But her actions don't show a mental, emotional abuse or fear of what he would do. Her statements say that, but her actions don't. Not to me anyway. Somebody who's afraid of what this person can and will do, either mentally, emotionally, or physically, because she's claimed all of them. Because she couldn't get one to work, so she's claiming the other one. She couldn't get DV to work. She couldn't get charges brought on him for that. She couldn't get the restraining order to work with the package that he sent her in November for her birthday. So yes and no. I think that the reaction of the abuse is more telling as proof versus being able to show that somebody did or didn't do it. That's where I'm at. But you have to understand the effects of mental abuse. Okay, so I'll just ask this. If I have been mentally or emotionally or physically abused in any which way, do I feel like I can go and date other men and wear their rings in front of my actual spouse at the time they were still married? Do I think that I could do that? If I fear for any type of abuse, do I do that? Hey, Miranda. If I fear for emotional, mental, or physical abuse, this is also something that's not brought up in trial yet. If it will be, who knows? Do I follow that person around to see who they're dating and record everything that I'm doing and how I find them and who I find them with? Because she's calling him a stalker for tracking her, but nobody's calling her a stalker for tracking him. And she did track him. There's recordings that were found on her phone of her following him around and what he was doing, taking notes of what he was doing while she was following him. Right. Well, if he's a stalker, then she's a stalker. Because that could be the same thing be said. Well, if he's over there checking on the house and looking through the windows, is he just making sure that his daughter's safe in the home? Well, one, when he's in the driveway, it's like that was before he even saw his daughter. He was there to try to meet her, but that's a different story. So to me, there's no doubt in my mind that this relationship was toxic and they should not have been together. So if she can use the excuse that she's following him around just to find out if she's safe, or to find out, if he's dating somebody or he's bringing this person around their child. Stalking seems like so much work. I'm way too lazy. I'm just like, whatever, go do it. That's what you're going to do. Go do it. I'm not stalking you. I'm tired. I agree, Francis. So what does she think would happen? She's mentally, emotionally, and physically abused by this person. What does she think would happen if she's following him around and she gets caught? What's going to happen? That doesn't seem like fear to me. Hey, why not? When someone has talked to you, it is very important to try to keep track of everywhere they are. I've been there. I know what I'm talking about. You don't even have a TV or a radio on. Oh, BR. Aw. We love you, sweetheart. After hearing all of her complaints about the house, etc., I really feel like she thought he was super rich, and it came across like she was disappointed and not up to her wanted standard. Yeah. And she was like, well, I got the baby at least, so I'm out. I think so. That's another thing. The letter, the 4-page letter that she left, judge didn't let it come in. So nobody gets to see the letter. The jury doesn't see that letter. M says, I agree with Sleuthy. You can't expect a person going through DV to act just like everybody else. The effects on their mental health is not measurable. Okay, so take that and switch it to that Doug is going through domestic violence. That Doug is being emotionally and mentally abused by a woman who keeps telling him that they're getting back together and everything's going to be wonderful and they're going to move in together and they're going to have this wonderful life. And then she's on the other side. She's out here dating somebody else. She's keeping the daughter away. She's claiming that he's physically and sexually abusing their own child, claiming that he has poisoned her and his unborn child, trying to make his life a living hell. So who's being abused? So then if we sit with that, we can't look at the effects on somebody's mental health and not being measurable. Then do we go back to the situation in 2017 where she won't stop yelling at him about his daughter? She's now invested all of this money, of his money, into this ballet company that she's letting fail because she doesn't know what she's doing, and the investors don't actually want anything to do with it now. Does that excuse what happened with him because he was being abused? I agree, Jelly Belly. That's not like there's so much. that we don't really know because he's dead. Because if we go with the fact that he was being abused by this woman and he had enough of it and he didn't want to do it anymore, and he wasn't going to give up filing for divorce until the evaluations came out from the doctor. And she was like, fine, you're not going to do what I want, then I'm going to kill you. Because there's also no proof of this whole running around the house in this fight where he smacks her and won't let her out the front door. There's no proof of any of that. She should get Suitcase Sarah to write her at the judge. God, I don't want to listen to any more letters from Suitcase Sarah. Miku's headphones, what's up? Doug was literally being abused just as much, if not more, than Ashley. Yeah, he had some shitty moments, but I feel like it's a reactive abuse there. That's what I'm saying. So are we talking this? Is she the one that has the reactive? Is she being reactive, or was he being reactive? I assume nothing. Every DV victim has a different perspective. This is mine. It includes terrifying stalking and attempt at strangling. That's scary as shit. Yeah, he took her. He drove her down to Florida. Sarah Boone did design a nice poster, a flyer to get somebody to come and represent her and work with her. Hey, Joanna. Much of this trial has been much of this case has been Doug on trial rather than Ashley, and he cannot rise from the grave and defend himself. It's been very much asking the jury to take her at her word. And that's, I think, her testimony, it's going to come down to whether people believed her or not. And I I do not. I would be one that does not. But there's 6 people sitting on that jury. The prosecution went over the marriage year by year, got AB to admit there were no incidents in the 3 years before she shot him. Problem with this answer, well, when I say answer is to the person, problem with this statement is so many people are mad that the prosecutor seemed to be attacking a domestic violence victim. And so no matter what was said, it was like, what a disgrace the prosecutor was for talking to her that way. Okay, so I think most of this we know. There was like not much at the beginning of this hearing from either side that we didn't already go over until Tommy took the stand. Why is this not coming up correctly? Let's do a refresh. Okay, so Tommy took the stand. There was some interesting stuff that kind of came out around Tommy's testimony that, so I'm going to try to ignore all the things that we've already talked about in the opening, the 4 hours, simply for time purposes. But the interesting that came out here was about Tommy texting with Ashley after everything, after she had left Doug, after the letter, after she gave birth, and like almost kind of agreeing with her. I think he gets frustrated with this. That was one thing I was going to look at, because somebody told me that he was on like Court TV or something after this, talking about what this meant. Let me see if I can find that really quick. But essentially, they're texting back and forth, and there's like a comment made about that she picked the wrong Benefield. Let me see if he goes on Court TV. I think it was on Court TV, they said. I'm going to try to find it real quick. You guys know what I'm talking about? Did anybody happen to actually see it? Of course you are, LFT. Of course you are. Does anybody know what interview I'm talking about? He was with Vinny. Okay, let me see. Why can't I find it? Let me go here. I can't see the chat, so if anybody's telling me, I don't know where it is. So just hold tight. Okay, here it is.
In this case, and he's Doug's cousin, been very outspoken and really one of the driving forces to try to get justice for his cousin. How about that moment inside the courtroom?
He had a lot to say about their relationship as well, Vinny. And one of the things we've heard a lot about in this case so far is that both Doug Benefield as well as his wife, Ashley Benefield, both had a love for guns. And so this was a little bit of Tommy's testimony talking about where Ashley kept a gun. Let's listen.
Did Ashley ever discuss with you that she carried a gun?
Yes.
And what did she say about that?
She said that on their initial meeting, in the political meeting, that she and Doug's traveling partner in business went outside of Secret Service people, and she showed him the gun she was carrying at that event in her bra.
And that was the night they met. And then about 13 days later, they ended up getting married. This is Ashley and her husband, Doug. So interesting to see and hear what's going to happen.
Saw him on the witness stand. He's been speaking to us throughout our coverage of this story. Doug Benefield's cousin and family spokesperson, Tommy Benefield, is with us. Tommy, first witness on the stand today. Did you know that going in, and how do you think things went for you?
Hey, Vinny, thanks again for having me tonight and for letting us speak for our family and our side of the case. I knew I was going to be first up because of background, in particular because I had several weekends and several events with Doug and Ashley specifically, and that I ended up maintaining that open relationship, open communication with her long after they separated, giving her a chance to voice her concerns and allegations all the way up until my deposition in 2018. I believe we had a good day today in the prosecution side of the presentation. This is still the state presenting their information all day today and into tomorrow. It was very, very clear where Mr. Taylor was trying to go in his part of the case. But I don't think that the case is going quite the way he wants to. We have the single events that Doug admitted to a long time ago, but we don't have any events ever accused of him or found true of him once Ashley moved to Florida. So there's a big difference between what happened in the home in South Carolina and then all the 2-3 years that they were in Florida off and on together.
Now, there was a moment today, and as I'm watching this, the jury's out, you're out of the courthouse as well, and her attorney starts talking about you because there's some dispute about some testimony that they're trying to get you to talk about. So I don't know if you've seen or heard this, but I want to play it for you to get your reaction. Here again is Ashley Benefield's attorney talking about you.
As succinctly as I can, Your Honor, he's a creep. He acknowledged being a creep, and the jury will conclude he's a creep. It goes directly to his character and his bias. And
So they say that the cousin Tommy is a creep. That's what the defense attorney's saying. The judge is like, I think we should refrain from calling the witnesses names.
that's why, after he said, yes, it was accurate, I recall it, he cannot bring himself to say it. And the reason he can't bring himself to say it is because he knows that all these women on the jury are going to know exactly what he was referring to.
Okay, so Tommy, I heard that, and folks watching heard that. I wanted to give you some time to respond because there's the rules of the court. You can't say everything you want to say on the witness stand. So give us your side, because this is all referencing text messages between you and Ashley, and in one of them, it's alleged that you said that, oh, Ashley, you married the wrong Benefield.
And that's not what the bubble says. It specifically said wrong Benefield. What I tried to do was give it the context appropriate to what Ashley has said in the text message prior to that. And of course, he's painting it the way he wants to. I've never in my life ever been accused of anything that he accused me of today. I was answering that what she was looking for in conduct, that there were different Benefields, and she was talking about the wrong Benefield, the wrong behavior. And I've never been accused of being a creep. Everyone in my company, ever in my business, everywhere I've ever been, no one's ever accused me the way he did today. Disgusting is my point of view. I was out of the room for it. My family and I talked about it this afternoon and this evening. But the accusation.
He doesn't say wrong. He doesn't say you married the wrong Benefield. That's not what it's not what the message says. It literally says his response to her comment is wrong Benefield. It's all it is wrong Benefield. Now, they're taking the context very differently, but he literally just, his response is wrong Benefield. That's it.
That they're making about that statement is completely out of context. And I certainly was going to try to give the question and answer I gave as opposed to just that single bubble by itself, because that was not part of the way that treatment and that testimony should go.
And I got the feeling that there was a little more to it, and it's about context, but obviously we know what he's attempting to do and what's happening. So this trial.
What do you mean I'm taking his word for it? That's what when the judge reads it during this little break, that's all it says is wrong Benefield. He even tells the defense attorney, like, it doesn't say what you're saying it says. Like, that's not what it says. Now, does that what it means? I don't know. I could see him saying it. I could absolutely be like, yeah, you married the wrong Benefield. But the words, that's not what the message says. The judge even says, like, what you're saying, it says, doesn't actually say this.
I was moving very quickly. Are you guys and your family and everyone else that's down there, you guys staying till the end here?
We'll be here all the way.
Joanna, I think you're listening to what the defense attorney is saying. That's what the defense attorney is saying.
Way through. Benny, there's one very, very interesting thing that happened today that was outside of anything we had known previously. And certainly the testimony of the deputies and the folks who came on the scene at the Ashley and Alicia's home where Doug was killed. The fact that the gun turned out to be, we'll call it jammed for the sake of that. But we always wondered why Ashley did not shoot all the bullets out of the gun. We found out today that after 4 shots into the 5th shot, the gun jammed. That was new information today we had not ever had before. Very, very interesting that when the police picked up the gun from the neighbor next door and from Ashley, it was still jammed.
And before we go tonight, are there...
Oksana, it's so good to see you. For once, I disagree with your position, but I also did not know much about this case before the trial. She just seemed believable to me while on the stand, but it may be great theatrics too. And that's what it's going to, my opinion as of right now, it's going to come down to whether the jury believes her on there. But thank you so much for the super chat. It's so good to see you. I miss you.
For Eva, I know that she can't talk to you because she's still under subpoena, but your thoughts about her tonight being in the courtroom, being there with Ashley. She's now allowed to at least watch the rest of the trial from the gallery, but she can't talk about it, obviously. But your thoughts about her tonight?
Eva has been very courageous throughout this. She's very outspoken with her influencing on TikTok, and in particular about her recovering from the trauma of losing her father after losing her mother previously. I think she handled it very, very well today. And we were very happy that the state prosecutor invoked Marcy's law, which is the law where the next of kin can be in the room. So while she is a witness and she has not been released from that subpoena, she's in the courtroom getting to hear the testimony as Doug's next of kin. We were very, very thankful for that. She's been very courageous, and she's just telling the truth about what she saw.
All right, Tommy Benefield.
I like Eva a whole bunch. Okay, so I have the first day already pulled up because we were gonna go over the 911 call. So let me back it up just a hot minute into Tommy's testimony.
Benefield, please.
That's Court TV's feed. And the only reason I see it kind of sucks because I went to Court TV because they have theirs broken down into sections, like by timestamps, which makes it easier, but their feed audio is terrible.
Please tell us what.
Oh, hold on. Muscles and Mascara gifted 10 memberships. What? Thank you, honey. Muscles are sexy. Yes, they are.
Response to Miss Benefield
I'm gonna have to be somewhere else.
now that your recollection is refreshed.
Give me a second. I can't do that audio. I'll just have to find it. I don't know why their audio is so bad.
Thank you, Judge Wright. May I request to put the screen down?
I feel like the defense attorney constantly calls him Judge Wright when his name is Judge White, but
As a captain at the time, they changed my schedule like they do many.
So while this ballet was in development or launch,
there's so many sidebars.
Yeah, approach, Mr. Taylor.
Okay.
It's between you and Miss Benefield. Is
Yes,
it
sir.
not?
Yes, sir.
And it's accurate, is it not?
I believe so.
Okay. Now, may I approach? Yes.
So she sits too close to the judge, so they have her put on these headphones that are turned on by, I think, the court clerk, so that she can't hear what's happening at the sidebars. James says, that's right, I'm all flab. I don't know nothing about muscles. Black Swan coming in, $2. Thank you. All right.
Can you say thank you,
Objection.
Benefield? Yeah, approach, Mr. Taylor.
Okay. Hold on.
And it's between you, communication that you shared with Miss Benefield.
I believe it's correct and unaltered.
All right. And it's between you and Miss Benefield. Is
Yes,
it
sir.
not?
Yes, sir.
And it's accurate, is it not?
I believe so.
Okay. Now, may I approach? Yes.
I don't know exactly where it is in his testimony. I didn't have it up and ready to go. It's me. I'm the prosecutor.
Can you say thank you,
Objection.
Benefield? Yeah, approach, Mr. Taylor.
See, dang it. I don't know exactly where it happens at. It's got to be right here, right before they ask him to leave. Okay, so let's go forward. Sidebars. Too many of them. It's because there's so much that they're not allowing in that when one of them tries to teeter on that line, the other one's like, can we approach?
Does the document I've shown you, Mr. Benefield, reflect?
Is it? It's so she can listen, Amy? I was under the impression it was so she couldn't listen, but maybe I could be very wrong on that. So that's interesting to know. I'll do some research and find out.
Refresh your recollection of that particular exchange.
Yes, sir.
Now, would you tell us your recollection having been refreshed, whether or not tell us what your response was to Ashley's text?
This is 6 months, and you want me to just focus on
Just tell us what your,
Is that
Mr.
what correct,
Benefield,
Mr. Taylor?
just tell us what your response was to Ashley's text, your recollection having been refreshed.
Paige, he does. He talks so damn slow.
As she says in the text.
Mr. Benefield,
Sustained.
please tell us what your response to Miss Benefield's text was now that your recollection has been refreshed.
There are multiple on the page, sir.
Mr. Benefield, I think you know what I'm referring to. Would you please answer my question?
I would like to answer it as it pertains to what she said.
I didn't ask you what she said, Mr. Benefield. I asked you to please tell us your recollection having been refreshed, what you said.
Would you like me to read that
Judge, I would
bubble?
object We do not need to be reading from the start.
All right. Hold on. Deputy, would you please take the jury into the jury room? If you could give us 5 minutes.
I'm not getting the right.
Remember, please don't begin your discussions and deliberations amongst yourselves. You can use your phones if you need to contact people, but don't talk about the case with anyone else. Don't do any research on the people, places, things, or legal topics we've heard anything about.
Here, I'll speed it up.
All right, okay, see the jury's out. Mr. Benefield, I'm going to excuse you to the hallway. You are not to discuss your testimony or the questions that have been asked of you with anyone, including the attorneys, and you're not to let anybody talk to you about anything that's going on inside the court.
Still supporting her, and he's not only supporting her, but he's telling her she married the wrong Benefield. Yeah. In my world, Your Honor, based upon the rules of evidence, I am entitled to go after his credibility, which he has put in question by virtue of taking the witness stand and becoming a witness. I did it the way the court wanted. I asked the magic question, does this refresh your recollection? He said it did. Now I want him to tell me, in response to my question, did you tell Miss Benefield she married the wrong Benefield? And he cannot bring himself to acknowledge it. He wants to talk about anything else but that. And I think, Your Honor, anything that I'm capable of showing where this witness, Doug Benefield's loving cousin, Tommy Benefield, where this witness showed his support for Ashley Benefield after she left Douglas Benefield, goes directly to his credibility. You can't get up there and testify to all of these things about how wonderful this relationship was, and then on cross-examination have to acknowledge that you were still saying you're a fan of Miss Benefield's after she leaves him, knowing the reason she left him. I intentionally didn't go into the reasons to try to be straight with the court, but now I'm attempting to impugn his credibility, and he knows it, Judge. He's looking at me like a deer in the headlights.
See, when I put him on 2 times speed, he sounds normal to me. He sounds like he's speaking normal. The other way, I feel like I have it on slow motion.
John, I previously mentioned about confining arguments to legal and factual bases. I am also going to direct both sides to refrain from vituperative ad hominem attacks. I don't think we need to resort to name calling. I think it's inappropriate and unprofessional to refer to a witness to creed. All right, with that said, go ahead for your response.
The first thing, Judge, I don't know if you have a copy of the text message up there. Just to give it to you. Nowhere in there does it say she married the wrong man. That's not what it says, first of all. And second of all, Tommy Benefield never said that anything about their relationship and the tenor of their relationship once she left. He said, when I saw them together, they looked fine. Just because that changes down the road and he knows they're having problems, I am unaware of how that affects his credibility. He can clearly see that they're having problems later on down the road. I don't see how the timing being different somehow makes him inconsistent and somehow that attacks his credibility or it shows his bias. If Mr. Taylor wants to ask him, were you aware that there were problems after that? Yes, I was aware of that. I mean, in Mr. Taylor's argument, he's impeaching the fact that Tommy Benefield saw them acting loving to each other. If that wants to be impeached or explored, then ask Mr. Benefield if he saw them after that or knew that they were not loving and having that type of relationship. I don't understand the relevance of these types of conversations. I think the defense tends to say everything is about bias, but it has to conform to the rules of evidence. And I would say that this does not.
All right, thank you both very much. So my ruling earlier was.
But the problem I'm having is that I could not find the spot. So people, if you want to hear it, you're going to have to go back and actually listen to his entire testimony. Because what I was trying to find was where the defense attorney is saying about it being saying that she married the wrong Benefield to Tommy. But I didn't find that part.
That these statements by Mr. Benefield towards the defendant were hearsay. I wasn't aware of any exception that would allow them. They appear to be offered for the truth of the matter that is asserted. So I did allow them on that grounds. What I allowed was the defense to ask, because there had been testimony by Tommy Benefield that they were always respectful to each other. He never saw anything except care for each other, and they were in love both ways. I think it is an impeachable question to ask, did you feel that she married the wrong Benefield? But it's not what he wrote. It's what he felt. That's where you're mixing apples and oranges, the defense is.
Yeah.
The question that was presented to me was, did you feel that she married the wrong Benefield? He can answer yes or no. If there's then some extrinsic evidence that may impeach him on that point, I would then have to make a determination is that extrinsic evidence admissible or not? Because if it's a collateral matter that's not material, then as you well know, Mr. Taylor, you get the answer you get. Where we had an additional part of this analysis was the fact that there was a demonstrated lack of memory. Because the answer was, I don't know, as opposed to, no, I didn't say that, or yes, I didn't feel that, yes, I did feel that. So then the path we started on was refreshing recollection. As I mentioned before, and I mentioned pre-trial, I expect attorneys to know the differences between impeachment by a prior inconsistent statement, that's one path. Refreshing recollection is a second path, and introduction of past recollection recorded, which is a separate path. And the reason I'm sustaining the objection is because it started off with refreshing, does it refresh your memory, and then we got right back into the documents themselves, which I've already ruled were hearsay. So it's for impeachment purposes only. You can ask him about I allowed you to ask what his feelings were, but not to get into these documents themselves. I don't know how to say it any more clear than that. So if you're refreshing his recollection, then we're going to take that path.
Yes, I believe I did that. I believe I refreshed his recollection, and he acknowledged that. So then my question was,
what did you say? And that gets back to the documents. If he says his memory is refreshed, you take the document back, whatever the thing is that you use to refresh recollection is to be retrieved. And then the person testifies from their own personal knowledge.
so once he said that he recalls, I then asked him if he said that you married the wrong Benefield. That's what I said. I will be happy to go through that again, Your Honor. Now, did I leave the document there when I asked him that? Yes. I didn't feel it was necessary to take the document back. But after he acknowledged that his memory was refreshed, I asked him, did you say that she married the wrong Benefield? And that's where we were when Your Honor sent the jury out. He was trying to come to terms with how he was going to answer that.
I think this is where the judge says what I think he says.
The other text, Your Honor, is just indicative of continued support for Ms. Benefield.
Sir, this doesn't say what you're asking him.
Right there.
Thank you, wrong Benefield. Ms. Benefield says, that's very cool. You should be so proud of what you were doing. His response is, thank you, wrong Benefield.
Yeah, his response is, thank you, wrong Benefield. It doesn't say you married the wrong Benefield. Thank you, wrong Benefield.
What that means, Your Honor, what that suggests is, thank you, you should have been with me.
Sustained.
Yeah, he's like, no, doesn't even fucking say what you're trying to say that it says. Bullshit. This is sustained. You're out of here, buddy. Have a seat, Mr. Taylor. Yeah. Thank you, wrong Benefield. Okay, hold on. I got to get to the part that I actually had up for you guys to listen to, which was over here somewhere. Okay, let's go back. No, it's out of here. Okay, so that was the big issue with Tommy. So it's thank you, wrong Benefield. She's telling him you should be proud of everything that you've done, and he says thank you, wrong Benefield. Now is the attorney Taylor wrong on his assumption? No idea. No idea. He very well could have meant it that way, but we don't know that. Hi, now. Then Eva takes the stand. She's actually on there very quickly, but it's just that they seem to be very lovey-dovey. Yes, she was not happy that he married her after 13 days. But one thing I found interesting is that she actually has a black belt in Taekwondo. I did not know that prior to this. I was like, dang, Eva, what the heck, man? I like you even more now. And so on cross, she's asked, like, did your dad ever say that he was like fixated, did you ever say that your dad was fixated on her? And she's like, I might have. But she had said multiple times, and we've listened to a lot of her stuff, is that they were fixated on each other because they wouldn't leave each other's side. They did everything together. Okay, so John Sant is the neighbor who gets the 911 call, or who does the 911 call. So there's two calls. There's the one from the lady we don't hear from until like day, I think she shows up on day 4 maybe. On the defense's case, she was the one that was walking her dog. But this is the one where Ashley runs to his house and he calls 911. There has been some commentary prior to trial that she actually used to go to the shooting range with him. Now, when Ashley took the stand, she says she hasn't been to the shooting range since before the election or something like that. But I don't know. It was weird because it's been said a lot that she went to the shooting range with him. And like it was almost setting it up. This is not trial stuff, so I'm trying to stay away from this stuff. But the speculation prior to him testifying was that she was telling this neighbor, John Sant, who is also a gun owner, but she was telling him how her and Doug didn't get along. Like, so but none of that I have anything to prove. So I'm trying to stay away from that kind of stuff. But that's kind of what the situation was with him. So this is when we find out that the gun was actually jammed. I did not know that before, that the gun was jammed when she had come to his house. So that was new to me, that she actually stopped firing at Doug because the gun wasn't working. So let me play that part for you guys. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I brought this up so I could show you guys. This was Doug's house in South Carolina that she complained about, that didn't have the working water, so on and so forth, in the 4-page letter. So I just thought it'd be interesting for you guys to see the house. It's a nice little house. It's not like fancy mansion or anything. So the entire 911 call was not played. I think when we did the pretrial, I think I played the entire thing, or the parts that weren't going to be played. But essentially what was kept out was any commentary about the daughter. The neighbor says, like, we need somebody to get here before the mom and daughter show back up because we don't want them to see that. That part's excluded. Certain pieces like that. So the 911 call we hear in the trial is not even the full 911 call.
And what time of day was it? Light out, dark out?
It was still light, but it was probably early evening. It was between football games.
Okay, so it was between the football games?
Messing around, but like,
You set the gun down?
yeah.
Okay.
Once I got the weapon in, the conversation was.
Thank you. County 911, what is the address of your emergency?
All right, my address is
Hold on, I still have it on 2x speed. Let me slow it back down because this is normal.
1327 White Rock Terrace.
Okay, can you repeat that for me to make sure I have it correctly?
The house.
They said that they didn't want any. I'm trying to remember the legal reason why, but it had to do with like how the jury would feel about like talking about the child. There was like 3 parts that they cut out that were just kind of weird. It didn't like make sense. I'm like, just play the whole thing. Vinny goes over it too. Maybe I can find that.
Next door, honey, what's your address? Okay, it's right next door to me. She just came over. Her strange husband attacked her, and she says she shot him. Now, we've not gone over there yet. Doctor,
okay, what's his name?
Who?
What is his name?
His name is Doug Benefield.
Okay.
I have not gone over there.
Okay, I don't want you to go over there. Stay on the line just one moment. I'm going to connect you over to the sheriff's dispatch, okay?
Okay.
One moment.
Calm down, honey. Calm down.
What is your name, sir?
My name's John Sant. KNT. I live next to
Service dispatch on a recorded line. This is Gabby. How can I help you? Hey, Gabby, it's Karen. On the 11327, I have John Singer on the phone. He's saying the neighbor came over, female neighbor. It was a domestic. She shot her husband. Okay. All right, I'm going to get that on the screen, okay? Okay. Which screen does she at? The 11327 White Rock Terrace. Okay.
That's my address.
That's your address? What's her address? Where does it occur at?
Her address is right next to, I believe it's 11331.
She's on the corner? Okay.
Yes, ma'am, on the corner. She's with me now, quite upset. The weapon is here.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go over and look at anything, or just wait for the police?
No, I want you to just wait for the police, okay?
All right, if you could just get them here quick. She came in, she was quite hysterical. I didn't know who was banging on my door. Said that he attacked her, and she shot him.
Okay. I'm just getting that all on the screen, okay?
Okay. I know, honey. Come on. I know. Go ahead, ma'am.
Where is the gun? Is it with her, or is it just...
I have it right here, ma'am. It's sitting on the floor inside the door. My door's locked, so in case he isn't, he can't get up. I'm also armed if he does come over and try to harm her, just so everybody knows.
Okay.
This ad.
I'm kind of concerned with her mother and the little girl might get back there and find this whatever happened. Don't go out there, honey. Come on. I know. I know. Come on, sit down. Sit down. Sit down. I know.
Yeah. All right, I just want you guys to stay on the phone with me, okay?
No, I'm right here with you. I'm just with her. I'm trying to comfort her. We're in the house. Well, the police are going to want no problem. I know, baby. You got to sit down. Come on. Come on. There's no... Well, honey, they want you to stay here. If he isn't, we can't take a chance. That's why I want them to hurry up before
The
they get back from the park.
deputies are moving as fast as their hand. They're coming priority. They're coming lights and sirens. They just want to get and make sure that everything's okay. I want to. So where in the house is he?
Where in the house is he? Her bedroom. No, I don't know where that is. So it's one of the bedrooms. It's a lot like mine, so I'm going to assume when you go into the, is the garage door open? When you go into the garage, it's going to be on the left? Yeah, on the left.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm just getting that typed up, okay?
What, ma'am?
I'm just getting everything on the screen, okay?
Okay.
I should have Deputy pulling up here soon. Do you see him?
No, I'm in the back now looking out. I know which way the park is in Central Park here.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Okay, the sheriff's here. Thank heavens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you
The sheriff's car just pulled.
Yeah,
What
they
do you
just
want
pulled
us
up to
to
the
do?
other address. I'm going to stay on the line with you until a deputy gets with you, okay?
Okay. Okay, the sheriff is here. I'm not too sure where they're going.
I'm just staying on the line with you. The deputies.
I'm right here. I haven't left yet.
Yeah.
I just see it's a SUV sitting out there in front of my neighbor's house, right in front of my house. Just to calm, you know, they're going to take you into custody. You know that, right? Okay, just you know, you just calm down and just calm. Okay. I know.
Okay. You just let me know when they come knock on your door, okay?
Are they coming now, the police?
They will. They're waiting for a little bit of additional units. They want to have everything.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm glad that, geez, we got to get a hold of, don't go out. Until the police officer comes and look.
They're going to let me know what they want me to tell you, okay? They're just waiting to make sure that they have other people with them. They don't want anything to get out of hand without having proper backup, you know?
Yeah. Well, like I said, the weapon's here. I just want them to know that exactly where it's just sitting right inside the door. It's on the floor. And I did reach out when she ran in and picked it up off my front patio and brought it in. I wasn't going to leave it outside. Here's another police officer.
Is it just inside the front door or the back door?
Say that again?
Is it just inside the front door or like the back door patio area?
I'm by the front door. She came in the front. I'm sitting here staring at an officer right now. Looks like he's talking to one of the other cars. Neither one of them are moving.
Yeah. I'll let you know when it's time when to come out, okay?
Okay. Hey, is that your weapon or his? Okay. Okay. That's fine. Let me get my... Okay, just calm down, hon.
Okay. Now, the deputies want her to go outside with her hands up, nothing in them. Okay?
You want her to go out?
Yes. They want her to come out with not...
Out of my house?
Yes.
Does he know she's in my house?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So you're going to have to go out, okay?
And they want you to stay inside.
Now, let's put your hands where you can see them, okay?
So when the cops end up testifying and they say that nobody's going in because the first cop that's on the scene is waiting for backup because they believe that everybody in the situation is armed. So no, they're waiting for somebody else to come and meet them. So they don't actually enter the house until until there's other officers there. But the officers do split. One handful goes towards the house and the other handful goes towards him, and then they kind of meet back up and they clear the house and stuff. So.
All right. Where's she at?
Just start walking out front. They're outside.
Oh, I don't see him anywhere. She sure it isn't her.
Just start walking out. They're not going to do anything. They just want to make sure that everything's safe and that they're safe, okay?
Can I take her out? She's really upset.
No, they want you to stay inside. It says female only.
Stay inside. Oh, hang your hand. I don't see it. Now, are they at the right house?
We've told them multiple times which house to be at.
Yeah, 11327. I'm right in front of that SUV that does not have its light. Hold up right there, honey. Where are they at? There's a police officer over on the with the flashing. Okay, one of them sees her now.
Yeah, just keep her walking out. Okay.
Honey, do they see you?
They're probably giving her instructions, okay?
Okay. Now I need a police officer to come and get this weapon.
Yeah, they're going to come and get the weapon. They just wanted to make sure.
Okay, here they come now. Oh.
All right, folks, just hand those.
Okay. Let me see if I can find these spots really quick that Vinny pulled up.
Led to my reasonable fear on the day in question, his past conduct and things that led to my reasonable fear on the day in question.
An advantage has not. And we're going to hear one call. I'm going to play.
Her came in.
You were in an argument?
Okay.
So you were in an argument?
I don't know. She came in. She was quite hysterical. I didn't know who was banging on my door. Said that he attacked her and she shot him. They've been having trouble.
That's part of the 911 call.
So he says they've been having trouble, and that part bothers me a lot. Like, how in the world does this elderly old neighbor have any idea what is going on in this relationship? I don't know. I'm like that. Shannon's Copper said it too. Like, it's almost like she intentionally used this neighbor to set this up. But that's how I feel about it. I don't know. Okay, Tara.
Call in this case.
Oh, hold on, Sleuthy. She's out on bail, so those are just her regular clothes. That's what she bought for trial. So these are the parts he's going to play, the parts that were not played in court.
Now, the call is not made by Ashley Benefield. You can tell by the voice. It is her neighbor. She runs over to her neighbor's house. Now the jury's going to, but they're not. We have Michael Sterling. Jury's not going to.
We need the police before her mother and the little girl gets back from the park. I don't want them to find this.
All right, Rick, jury's not going to hear that. Any particular reason?
I would imagine because it's inflammatory.
Yeah, she's out on bail, so she's living at home. She's living her normal life. So her clothes are her clothes. So she goes shopping. She does all the things that she wants to do. She goes to Disney World when she wants to. She was allowed to go up to Maryland to her cousin's wedding. Hi, Jeanette.
Story. It's about the little girl coming back, and probably would create an image in the jury's mind of the little girl. And I think that's not the focus of the case. Other than that, I can't think of any reason why they wouldn't be able to hear that.
Yeah. What's interesting, and though, brings up an interesting fact in the case, is that when this self-defense takes place, Grandma and the little girl are at the park.
Interesting.
Right? So there's no witnesses. There are no witnesses to this.
Yeah, like my grandma used to say, what a quinky dink, spanking of grandmas. I mean, why aren't they there? And, and the fact is no witnesses, but also the fact that she doesn't want them there. And
can she go to Disney World with an ankle monitor? She got special permission from the judge to be able to go for her daughter's birthday.
That's when the act occurs. But again, I'm pretty skeptical, obviously, about her defense. They call it imperfect self-defense. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be self-defense nevertheless.
Let's take a listen now. We've got another piece of this 911 call. And again, as you listen to the voices, it's the neighbor. I believe he's going to be a really important witness in all of this. Perhaps for the defense, I think he's very sympathetic to Ashley Benefield. But you're also you can hear Ashley in the background. Take a listen.
I know.
Okay,
it's not what people think it's not what people think it is. I know.
Yeah.
It's not what people think it is.
Okay, so that's him. He was a military vet, and I assume that this is taken out because there's no context. So somebody would have to ask him what he meant by that statement. So they just remove it. He's saying, like, I know it's not what people think it is, and I'm assuming, once again, because we don't actually know, that it was, it's like shooting somebody. Let me get to the next part. There's like 3 chunks that were taken out.
A really Ashley Benefield.
Right, and she acts, how she looks. They can ask him that he's gonna meet to homes. And so they've already said.
Let's take Benefield 911 operator on.
I gotta stay on 911. Let's look out this way. Make sure that you don't see her. They're probably still at the park. If I see them, we'll go out and stop them. Okay. Would that be all right, ma'am?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're looking outside.
Okay, so that's the other piece. That's what was removed. And it's another part about the daughter. So what were those scratches? Did she get scratched by? What were those photos? Did she get scratched by a cat? So this is another thing that we haven't heard about in the trial yet, but we do know from the pretrial stuff is that there is a witness who says that she knows that Ashley got those scratches the day prior on the 26th. So now are they going to call this witness as a rebuttal witness? Because as of right now, they're just letting her say that she got these scratches from Doug. But we know from the filings that somebody says that's not true. They were there. They know that she got them from the day before. So, but as of right now, the jury doesn't know that. So it is what it is. Now, let me get rid of some of this stuff. So that's the 911 call. And that's really what his role in the whole thing is. But I think that they were setting this guy up to be everybody's going to believe him. We get the cops that come out, so we get a few of those, just how they go through and what they did and photograph the gun and that the gun jammed. That's one of the biggest pieces is about the gun jamming. This is Megan who took the photos of Ashley that night. She says that there were no injuries to her face that she noticed. The only reason she took a photo of Ashley's left ear was because the attorney, who was already at the police station when they arrived, was already waiting there for Ashley. So Ashley never made a statement, never told the cops ever what happened that night. Never told them. She had her attorney there before she even showed up. She says the only reason she took a picture of the left ear was because the attorney had said that she saw some redness there, so she just took the photos to essentially placate the attorney. We also have not heard about the fact that, which we heard in pretrial stuff, that there's no DNA from one on the other. So there was none of her, which we don't know. Like I said, it's not in this trial yet, so we'll see what happens. There was no DNA of Doug's found on Ashley, and there's no DNA of Ashley found on Doug for this altercation that supposedly happened. Now, are we going to get that in the rebuttal? Don't know. This is Amanda. So she's actually the one who goes in and takes all the photos of the crime scene, which I put them in here. I can give you guys this too if you want to go back through and like read it. Just like we did with Karen Reed's. But this is essentially the crime scene photos that she took of the guns and the crime scene. So, and this is the second gun that's in Ashley's backpack that's loaded. And Then another gun, which I believe, if I remember correctly, this one actually belongs to her mom, and this one was in the kitchen pantry, also locked and loaded. So 3 guns total. Then her mom takes the stand, says that they didn't ask her hardly anything hard. I think she might still be under subpoena. I don't remember which ones they let go and which ones they didn't, but they were very easy on her. Just essentially like, do you normally take her to the park? Like, why'd you take her to the park that day? And they do ask her, has Ashley ever told you what actually happened that night? And she says, no, Ashley has never told her what happened. Never told her the events of what happened. This is Barbara Russell. She's the psychologist who Ashley goes and stays with after the event, who says she did see the swelling on her eye afterward. Yeah, why are so many guns around a young child? They say that they're secured. The other thing is that the house is essentially packed up. The house is almost empty. They're moving. So yet they keep all these guns out. But, you know, maybe it's just how they did it. Hold on one second. Sorry, I had a tiny human. After the incident, I feel like Ashley did exactly what people should: get an attorney and follow the attorney's advice. I don't have a problem with her getting an attorney, but that was her family attorney, so they were already in communication. I find it very strange that the attorney was literally at the police station when she arrived. When the cops bring her to the station to interview her, the attorney's already there. That's my only thing with it. I always say everybody should get an attorney. Absolutely. Yeah, his life insurance policy had lapsed. He hadn't paid it in 3 months. So she said she did see that Ashley had, you know, some swelling on the left side of her face, but like I said, the people in the pictures say that there was nothing wrong with her face. So the people who took the pictures, they even had her come back on October 1st to get pictures to see if any bruising had shown up. And that's a great question too. She presents as a classic DV survivor now, but why did she not present that way before the trial? Well, unfortunately, the jury only sees her right now. So this is the officer who gets the surveillance of the park, sees that they're there. A lot of it's kind of repetitive. They do say criminality a lot in this trial, which I'm like, okay, you guys need to knock that shit off. But it is what it is. So then we've talked about her before. So this is Stephanie Murphy. This is the family attorney for Doug. She does not like Ashley at all. She's done a lot of pretrial hearing or pretrial interviews with like Vinny and other news outlets, like saying like, no, she absolutely thinks that she did this on purpose and that she knew that there was going to be big issues coming that week for the hearings. So this is essentially what she's testifying to, and this seems to be a point of contention, is this email chain between herself, Ashley's family attorney, Faith Brown, and the judicial assistant of the family court judge about this hearing. So she testifies the defense attorney really does not like her at all. And hi, the royal we. The defense attorney does not like her. He's trying to impeach her at every step, but she's adamant, and she's been adamant in all those pretrial interviews she's done, that they had gone to mediation. They had told the mediator that they were working things out. There was a reconciliation, and therefore, no matter what was being said, there was not going to be an injunction hearing on the 30th because Ashley was already saying that they were reconciling. So that's her stance. She says in this email chain that the defense attorney is confused about that the evaluations were not going to be released, saying that the defense attorney is saying that the doctor was actually on vacation on the 30th. And she's like, no, you're misreading it. And he's actually on vacation on the 23rd, which is why we didn't have that hearing then. And we were going to have it on the 30th. So in turn, he ends up getting to call Faith Brown, which she was not going to be allowed to be called. He gets to call Faith Brown, her attorney, and she says, no, we were not going to be hearing about the evaluations on the 30th. It was going to be about the injunction hearing. The only reason I'm even making this as important as it is because then when Ashley takes the stand, she's talking about like, I didn't even know what I was going to do. I was confused. Well, that's a very good cover for the fact that every person in her life was told a different story about what her plans were. Her attorney took the stand and said, no, we were going through with the injunction. Ashley was going through with the injunction. But in mediation, she tells the mediator, nope, we're getting back together. We're dropping everything. And that, according to the prosecutor, a fight ensues because Doug won't drop the divorce until after the hearing. So this is a pretty interesting exchange. If you guys want to watch that one. This guy is Detective Chris Gillum. He is the one who was working with Ashley throughout the domestic violence claims. He's also the one who finally puts his foot down, and him and his team get together and say, okay, this is like fucking crazy. She keeps filing all these claims about him that end up being unsubstantiated, and he gets his team together, and they're the ones who actually request the evaluations of both Doug and Ashley. So they're like, let's just have a third party figure this shit out. Because when they were originally going to court for custody, Ashley called him upset and said, you need to arrest Doug in front of the judge. Like, you need to go and arrest Doug in front of the judge. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. And she's like calling him an asshole and says that he's conspiring with Doug against her. I don't know. And then, of course, on cross, they're like, you just happen to remember this conversation and you didn't fill any of this out until much later, because he doesn't actually file his supplemental on that for almost 2 years. But he's like, it wasn't relevant then because she was just talking to me. He's like, but after the things that she said, where she said, you guys aren't going to help me, like, I'm going to figure it out myself. I'm going to make sure that he won't have my daughter. So the defense is saying, nope, you're lying, and you're only saying that now for whatever reason, probably because you were conspiring with Doug. But he was like, yeah, no. Like, we already knew that the shit was wrong. This whole team of CPS, child protect, or crimes against children, and himself are all getting involved in this, and they're like, no, we got to go do this. Let me see which one this one is. Oh, he's the one who overheard the conversation, so he comes in to essentially substantiate what Detective Golem is saying. And he works for the Crimes Against Children, so CAC, and then he's also part of the decision in this group of people to have both Doug and Ashley evaluated by a mental health person. Now, here's your mental health person. So it's Dr. Brad Broder. He also testifies at pretrial hearings, so it's interesting what he gets to say there versus what he gets to say here. He says that when they were together, Ashley and Doug got along. He evaluated each person individually, and Ashley would say that she didn't want to be with Doug, but she never said that in front of Doug. That he is the one who ultimately says that he finds no issues with either parent, specifically with Doug, because that's who the charges are supposedly going to be against that she's trying to file with this injunction. He says, I find that there's nothing wrong with Doug. His evaluation is like, no, he's a good dad and he's fine, but he does see that Doug is trying to hang on to the relationship more than Ashley is, in his personal opinion. So he says he writes a 27-page evaluation for Ashley and a 25-page evaluation for Doug. The evaluations are just a huge part of this whole motive, according to the prosecutor, and according to the defense, it's not a big deal because they weren't coming out yet anyway. But we already know that both parties had stipulated to the fact that they could be released. So they were going to be released, no matter what, whether it was Wednesday or not. Let's see. This was one of their therapists. So he also evaluates them, or he doesn't do an eval. I'm sorry. He's just their therapist. He was a mental health counselor, did trauma resolution, and met with them as a couple twice. Doug twice on his own and Ashley 5 times on her own. Is that not? I thought that was kind of interesting. Why is he meeting with Ashley 5 times alone, but only Doug twice? They were talking about reconciliation. They were talking about moving to Maryland. He said Ashley was different when she was alone versus when she was with Doug. That it would be disparaging towards Doug, and he would take retribution because of Dr. Broder's report. Let me see. He had last seen them 2 days before Doug was killed. Let's see. Let me see who this one is. Oh, this is the phone guy. So they go over the text messages. Not going to go too far into it. The text messages are very boring, but I put in here, I'm like, there's a lot of LOLing in these text messages at stuff that's just not funny. Like, I don't know why. It's a very boring back and forth, seemingly normal conversation between Doug and Ashley throughout the week prior to him dying. But they just they make like silly jokes at each other that aren't really funny, but then they laugh at each other. I don't know. The whole point was to show that there's no animosity, there's no hatred. They're talking very normally, very calmly. Nobody's fighting, leading up into her asking him to come over that day. Oh, sorry, I was laughing at Miku's headphones. LMAO or LOL, kind of like an right. I literally put an LOL just for that comment. I was like, ugh. Gilletta says I went to a shrink once and he quit. I think she was using him at her convenience, but didn't want him in her life. Come to Maryland, they said. So he really, on cross, he only gets really asked one question. Then there's like a whole fucking hearing. They tell him to leave and then come back. They ask him to come back. And after the judge rules that the defense cannot ask him this series of questions they want to ask him, they end up just dismissing him. So it was like an entire waste of time. But it was just to show that they were talking to each other very normally. And she invited him over because part of the rumors at the beginning of this was that he came over on his own. She didn't want him there. And then the text messages show obviously that's not true. Hi, my 3 sons. Criminality, I say guilty, 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 but I don't feel so far the prosecution has done enough for the jury. She's going to get away with murder. Keep your fingers crossed that they have a good rebuttal. That's all I have to say. So biggest part about Dr. Vega, he's the medical examiner. He's the one who examines Doug. The biggest takeaways from the direct of this is, Doug's obviously not a very big guy. He was muscular. He was 169 pounds, 5'9". That the gunshot wound is to, and we talked about this on the pretrial stuff, but the gunshot wound is to the right chest, and the bullet lands in his left back. So trajectory of this bullet would say it's coming from the front to right, and it lands in the left back. But the defense comes up and he's like, so you're saying that she was shot from the front? And he says yes, which I thought was very, like, somebody should have followed up with him on, obviously he's shot from a front angle. He's not shot in the back. But he's shot from the front side. And so I'm thinking the jury's probably going to figure that out and understand that. But now the defense is like running crazy with this. See, he was shot right in the front and he wasn't shot in the back. It's like nobody was saying he was shot in the back. They're saying he was shot from the side. Now the second wound is very strange because it's from the lower back of his right leg, like in the calf area is the entrance, and it comes out the right side of his knee at an upward angle. So the defense is trying to say that Doug, let me see if I can turn my camera back on so I can kind of show this. Oh. So the defense is trying to say, like, Doug, I just can't, I need like the physics guys back in here, because if he's coming at her, right? So he's like coming towards her, that he slips and his legs come out from under him and go up. And so when she shoots him in the leg, it's this way, and then that it's almost going like at a downward angle. So his legs, like, so he slips and goes, like his legs are up here. Like, I don't understand. I don't even see how that can happen. It's like, that doesn't even make sense to me. So can somebody explain how that could possibly happen? He's like, yeah, and then he's like waving his hands around like he's gonna karate chop her, essentially. He's like waving his hands around. But the second one is even weirder, because to me, it's if she's lower and she shoots up, right? Or as he's going down, if he's going down this way and she shoots at that angle, it would be almost an upward trajectory. Where's LOT? She loves to reenact this stuff. I just don't see it's possible. So she shot him, he fell, he tried to get back up, she shot and missed because he ducked, she shot again, his legs went up, she shot again. Oh, that's what I think too, Miku's headphones, but I'm trying to understand like how they even could get to this, that she like that his legs go up in the air, and that's how she shoots him at this weird upward trajectory. It just doesn't make sense to me. And then then the other one is this way. So I was like, okay, so if he is coming at her and he's like kind of like in a sideways stance, it would make sense if the bullet hits his arm and then enters his chest. So I could kind of see that. Like I could go either way with that one. But I don't, the other one, just the leg doesn't make sense to me. Looks like he was doing the robot. We're going to get to that one. We'll do that. Let's do that next. Let me put this back up here. I didn't mean to take that down, but I worked. Yeah, I just don't think his legs went up. Sorry, I'm hitting wrong buttons. Okay. So the other thing he talks about is that there's no stippling, which becomes important because if he is that close to her, the stippling would be on his clothes or on his body, depending on which wound we're talking about. Explain the leg one again? I don't even think I can. She says like he slips and his legs come out from under him, and then she shoots, and that's how it goes in the back of his calf and out the right side of his knee. I don't know. This is the advantage for her of not speaking to the police. They'd have asked her to retell the story numerous times to catch any discrepancies. Right. And now she hasn't, so she only has to tell it once. I believe he was trying to get away. So there's no stippling. There's also, which we don't know that, but there's also no gunshot residue on the clothes. So it just means that Doug and Ashley were not right next to each other, that he was not that close to her to show that he was that big of a threat that she had to shoot. So that's going to be kind of a determination, I think, up to the jury's interpretation of how close is too close. Because if he is over 3 feet away and because there's no gunshot residue and there's no stippling on his clothes, was he close enough to have been a threat? I think that's going to be up to their personal decision. Then you get the firearms guy who comes in and talks all about firearms. I was thinking about like DB and Sniper at this time. I was like, these guys would like this conversation. I'm like bored out of my mind of all the different pieces and parts to the gun. Can't stand the gun stuff. You guys know me. But he test fires the gun. It is the gun. That's essentially his testimony. It is the gun that killed Doug. And that's the bottom line of that testimony. It just took a really long time to get there. And now here's her family attorney that comes up on day 4. So we are switching. So you can see I switched the colors. So now we are state rested their case, and we are on the defense's case. And so this is her family attorney. They go over this dang email because this email is a point of contention, like I said. But we're not done hearing about the email because the prosecutor has the judicial assistant. I think her name is Vicky Mechanic. She's going to be coming up on rebuttal. So this email situation is not over. It's still going to be there. We're still going to hear more about what was actually being heard at this hearing coming up. That's really all she's testifying to. She's there to try to impeach Stephanie Murphy. Stephanie says that, yes, the reports were being released on the 30th. Faith says, no, they weren't. All right, Ashley Benefield. Let me pull that up. I can, yeah. Let me show that again. All right. Let me skip Ashley for a second. It's in this. Okay, so this is the house. This is where the bullets and everything landed. I kind of hid that one because that is one of the ones of Doug, and I was like, oh, maybe that's not supposed to be out, so I kind of just pushed it to the side because I was like, I don't know what to do with that. They showed it at the pretrial hearing, so I thought it would be okay, but I don't know if people online really want to see it. So according to the defense is AB and DB in red, and then according to the prosecutor, AB and DB in blue. So we know that 2 bullets go into Doug. The other one ends up over here in the wall. So it actually goes this direction through the wall, through the cupboard underneath the sink at an angle going this direction, because then it lands in the door frame of the bathroom. So why not? That's a great question. So if she planned this, she would have had to have had the gun in the bedroom where she had to retrieve it and be trapped. No, because the last boxes that were supposedly being taken from the bedroom were in her closet. So that was part of what they were supposedly doing in the house, was taking these last boxes from her room and the mattress that was still in her room. So the prosecution's theory is that he's actually moving one of the boxes out of the closet, and that's actually when she's shooting him. And that's why it's from the front side. So the gun in the bedroom, she had 2 of them in there. Well, we know she had 1 in there when they came to search. She only had on a sports bra and a pair of bike shorts. No, and we don't know that she didn't have that gun on her person. I'll just be very clear. We don't actually know that she didn't. We know from her statement that she didn't. Oh. So the 1 bullet comes this way over here at a downward trajectory and hits the sink and lands into the wall. The other one comes this way from over here, hits some little storage thing, and lands right by the front door. This is not the this is not the full floor plan. There's the garage. The garage is up here. This is just the rooms that have anything to do with the crime. There's the garage is up here, and the master bedroom is back here. And the kitchen. The kitchen's right here. So this is just the little part of that. Little part of the house. You have to pull up the other one if you want the other one, or I can send it to you. So that's the other part, is that Doug is supposedly carrying this stuff out to the car. So they get in this fight, and she runs to take off to go through the front door, right? And then he comes and he stops her from leaving. So in turn, she runs back to her bedroom where she has 2 guns. So, and then Sleuthie made a very good point in her testimony, in Ashley's testimony. She says, they ask her, so when you had the gun, what did you hear next? And what she says she hears is the door fly open and hit the doorstop. So she already has the gun in hand before he comes to the room. She already has the gun, because they ask her, what did you hear next? And she says, I heard the door fly open and hit the doorstop. So, yeah. So it makes more sense that she's over here in the room since the bullets are going this way. This one doesn't fly out here. It hits next to this window. So there has to be some movement, whether they're right and then she goes here, or whether they're right and then she goes here. I don't know. But her whole thing is that she's over here and that Doug is coming in through the door. Does that help at all? Okay, actually, I don't even want to pull that part up. We're going to go to just some parts of Ashley's testimony that I had up, but I think I got rid of it when I was looking for something else. So. Let's go here. I'm not going to play her full testimony, but I do want to play. I want to play the beginning of her on direct with her attorney, and then I'm going to play the part of when she's on cross.
We'll reconvene.
Tell us about
To something specific, then yes.
Sir. Thank you. Tell us about your high school, Ashley.
Okay, so this is the part of it has to do with that she went to a high school for the arts, so it did have acting, it had art, like physical art, painting, drawing, and it had ballet, and her focus was on ballet.
The sheriff's office.
Okay, and how about exhibit number 9?
No.
What was your response, Ashley, after being struck by the cardboard box?
I apologized.
Why would you have apologized?
I don't think so, Gilletta, because she was known to carry a gun. When they met for the first time, she had a gun in her bra. They both had concealed carry permits. How's she liking that courtroom AC? Bev would have made that AC turn off so quick, Luke. That's okay, post-punk mama. You can, whatever, how you feel, however you feel. We love you no matter what.
Because I could see how upset he was, and I didn't want him to get more mad at me.
Where does Doug go after that incident?
He continued to the garage with the box.
And what happens at that point?
We started getting into a back and forth.
I am going to speed it up just because he talks so slow. If it's too fast, just tell me it's too fast and I'll slow it down. We're just going to go up to 1.5.
About being done for the day and what still needed to be packed and that I wanted to be done. And we ended up in our daughter's bedroom and he started screaming at me. He said, "Shut the fuck up." He started calling me names. And he said, "I can see what you're doing. You're trying to get me to leave." He said, "I don't have to leave. I can stay and spend the night if I want to because I'm your husband."
At that point, Ashley, how did you feel with respect to your own personal safety?
I was scared.
Did you take any steps to try to avoid anything further?
Yes, I ran to try to leave the house.
And where did you run to?
To the front door.
Did you make it?
No.
Tell us what happened.
He stopped me. He grabbed me by the hand and he yanked me back. I'm not really sure how he did it, but he spun around so he was in front of me, between me and the door.
So
he said,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
He said, "Where the fuck do you think you're going?"
What was your response? Do you specifically recall? Tell us.
I just blurted it out. I said, "I'm done and you need to leave now."
What was Doug's reaction to that command to leave now?
He said, "You can't fucking leave me."
Then what happens?
He hit me in the side of the head.
Actually, I'm going to ask you what's been marked as defendant's exhibit number 7.
I know that not DB was in here earlier saying that you can't always see tears on regular film, but I can tell you right now, when I watched Alec Murdaugh, we saw all of his tears and all of his snot, and that guy was still convicted. I don't see very much actual tear coming from her. I do see one. It eventually comes out. It'll come out on this side. right here. It'll come down that cheek. I do see one. And I know she's the defendant. There's a strategy behind it. There always is. Every side has their strategy. I absolutely get it. But I mean, there's a whole reason like her hair is put back just on this side so the jury can see her face. I mean, that's all done strategically. They all do it. Can't fault her for trying.
Tell us what that represents.
It's a picture of my face.
Is it an accurate picture of what your face looked like on that night?
Yes, sir.
Who took that photograph?
I don't remember her name. She was at the sheriff's office.
At the sheriff's office? Okay. Now, what is it about that photograph that shows or reflects the slap or the hit that you got to the side of your head on that day by Doug?
That side of my face is like swollen and puffy and discolored around my eye.
And is your eyelid drooping?
Yes.
On the side where you were hit?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move offense exhibit number 7.
That's totally okay. Why not? Yeah, you can absolutely. I get it. Like I said, it's got two very strong sides to it. I'm never here to try to convince somebody of my opinion, just to share my thoughts, and I love hearing your guys' thoughts. That's why I love when we don't always just agree. I just like when we're kind to each other. But I get it, and everybody has their own experiences in DV. You know, and not everybody's is the same. And it's interesting watching like some of the live chats during trial with some people who've been through DV and think that she's absolutely lying. Others that have been through DV and think that she's absolutely telling the truth. It's, you know, it's all going to come down to right now. The prosecution, in my opinion, no matter what I think, is that I don't think the prosecution's done enough to overpower this self-defense, and I'm waiting for the rebuttal. But I think it was planned. I think they did it on purpose. But I do not think that was proven in a court of law. So that's two very different things. You mean toxic as hell? Their relationship was toxic. They have rebuttal still. Yep, that's what I'm waiting for. Hi, Christine.
Evidence received.
Yep.
What was different at that moment, Ashley, than at any time in your prior relationship with Doug?
He never actually hit me before.
What did you do?
I ran.
Where?
To my room.
Why?
I was scared.
Ashley, did you have anything in your room that could protect you?
I had my gun.
You had two guns.
Did you grab the gun?
Yes.
As you're grabbing the gun, what, if anything, did you hear?
I heard the door hitting the doorstop.
As if it is flung open?
Yes.
And what do you see, Ashley, when you look up?
Doug was standing in the doorway. His face was red. Like the veins were bulging in his neck. The way he was looking at me, he didn't even look like Doug.
His veins were bulging in his neck, and he didn't even look like Doug.
His eyes were black.
His eyes were black.
Does he yell anything at you?
He said, "You're fucking done."
And what does he do at that point?
I held the gun like in front of me, and I said, "Stop." And he like turned and he got into this like.
So I just want, during this reenactment, and the reason I want to play both of them is notice the direction she's pointing the gun. Both times that she holds this gun up, she's pointing the gun down. She's pointing the gun at a downward angle. I found that very interesting. I have been hoping that the behavior panel does her testimony. I really hope they do. If they do, we'll cover it. We'll go over it because I am very curious about what they have to say. I love the behavior panel.
It was like a fighting stance.
So you can right
like I got low and he started like moving his arms and his hands around. He was making these like jerking motions.
What were you expecting when you were holding the gun out in front of you and you told him to stop?
I thought when he saw it, he would leave.
Did he?
No.
At that point, Ashley, what are you thinking?
I thought he was gonna kill me.
Tell us.
Oh, I think you can.
What happened?
I guess, see, this is a different experience too, because I have known a couple pathological liars in my life, and knowing that their stories were false, having proof that their stories were false, I've seen this type of reaction from people knowing that they're lying. I've also seen this type of reaction from people that are telling the truth. So I don't put it past it to be fake.
Next.
Okay, you can absolutely believe
He
it.
started coming towards me, and then he lunged at me. So I started pulling the trigger. And he just kept coming. I remember trying to move to get away from him, but he kept coming at me.
Ashley, would you tell us why, if you're holding a loaded firearm, you were attempting to move away?
I was trying to get away from him. I was terrified.
All right, so you're firing. He keeps advancing. What happens next?
It was like his feet slipped out from under him and his legs went up in the air.
When Doug hits the floor, what's your immediate reaction?
I ran to get help.
Well, see, that part we know it's not true. When Doug hits the floor, she runs to get help. We know that's not true because the gun is jammed. So we know she's actually continuing to fire the gun. So that's a problem for me too, is that she was going to empty the entire gun into him, and the fact that he was on the ground and she continues in her reenactment to point down bothers me.
Can you tell us how many shots you fired?
I have no idea. I was in a panic.
You do have an idea because you sat in like 17 hearings where you know exactly how many shots you fired. So to say that you don't know is a lie.
Anything about the shooting beyond what you've told us here?
It was a blur.
Where did you run for help, Ashley?
To my neighbor's house.
What's your neighbor's name?
John, say it.
Oh, we're not crying anymore. We're okay now.
Ashley, I have to ask you a couple of very difficult questions.
Yes, Salty Sweetie. She would have had to have gone around his body.
Sorry.
Ashley, tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury why you shot Doug.
I was scared to death. I thought he was going to kill me. I didn't know where to go. I was trapped. My own house, he wouldn't let me leave.
As you sit here today, Ashley, how do you feel about what happened?
Horrible. He's the father of my child. Someday you have to explain it all to her.
Judge, I wonder, could we have a minute, maybe a brief recess, like have her compose herself?
All right, members of the jury, if you can step out for a couple of minutes, we'll bring you right back. Just leave your notes where they are.
So she leaves. Oh, why not? Thank you. I like this chat because I disagree with most of you, but I'm very interested in understanding why you see things the way you do. That's where I always come from. I constantly want to try to figure out like why people see things the way they do, whether they agree with me or not. Like that's a huge part for me. So thank you for being here and engaging in it. Okay, so this lady is part of the. I don't know if she's actually related or not. I don't think she is, but I know she's part of the We Stand with Ashley movement. This lady right here, she gets very visibly upset at the judge's rulings. Like she is like jaw dropping. So if you see her in court again, pay attention to her because she's very facially animated. Okay, let me go to the other part, and then we'll wrap it up with there's like a couple more witnesses. You go over the text messages again. They go over text messages here that are interesting too, because she's complaining about how he feels about Renee, that she's jealous of his relationship with Renee. Renee is his deceased wife, his daughter's mom, and he's having to try to convince her that he's not in love with Renee, his deceased wife, that he's in love with her. And so they asked, like, were you jealous? And she's like, yeah, I was. And then there's this weird thing about the text messages from when she was on this cruise that he paid for her friend to go on with her. That there were some guys that were like fighting near her. And so he's like acting all macho in the text messages, like he would be there to defend her and take care of her. And like I said, I'm actually very surprised. Normally, I feel like I learn a ton from the trial that I didn't know before. there's probably only a couple major points that I didn't know, like the gun being jammed, the weird text messages between Tommy and Ashley. Most of the stuff is and it's come out in pretrial. I'm just trying to get to the part. This is what pissed a lot of people off. Oh, here's them that same week before I've watched this too many times. Before he's killed, where they're playing heads up at a restaurant with it's Ashley's mom, Alicia, and their daughter, Emerson. And they're playing heads up at a restaurant, just having a good old time and whatever, like normal stuff. So I don't know how we can go. Is it actually normal, or was it her pretending to be normal? I don't know how that's going to play out with the jury. Okay, here we go. This is weird to me. But people were big mad at the
So he says you're fucking done, and you point the gun and you shoot. I held it out in front of me first so he could see it. And I said, stop. Judge, if I could have her step down so she can demonstrate. Excuse me. If you could just come down. So Doug opens the door and does what?
Hold on, let me go back to normal speed.
Standing in the doorway, kind of like this. He said, you're fucking done. And I held the gun out in front of me and I said, stop.
Notice where she points that damn gun that she's holding in this reenactment. She's pointing it down again. If she's hunkering down in this corner where everything is going at this upright trajectory, like the other wound, like she's saying, like she's backing away from him and she's scared. Why in both reenactments is she pointing the gun at the ground? Like if she's literally down and hiding from him, wouldn't she be pointing the gun up?
He got into this like fighting pose where he like turned sideways. And he was like moving around with his like arms in his hands. And he started like inching forward towards me.
So he why do you call it a fighting stance?
He was like a fighter. I don't know, like a ninja or something, I don't know.
Okay, so he's standing there, he turns to like this and starts moving his arms around.
Like that.
Well, show me, what was he doing?
And like I really got like this, and he was like making like fighting motions. I don't know, I'm not a fighter.
Okay.
It was scary.
Did he have his hands in fists?
Not at that point, they were like, I don't know.
Was he coming at you like this?
And he lunged at me, he came very quickly.
Okay, so he lunged. Was his fist up when he lunged?
Okay. She did not say that he lunged at her during her direct examination. She never said that he lunged at her there. Now he's lunging at her.
Okay. So you start shooting, and he does what?
He kept coming at me.
Okay, so then you keep shooting again. And he falls down on his back?
His legs went up in the air.
Okay, where do his legs go?
In the air.
How high in the air?
I don't know.
Did they go over his head?
I don't know, it's like his feet slipped out.
Okay.
And his feet and his legs went up in the air.
And were you still shooting at the time?
I don't remember.
You can have a seat.
This is painful for me. I was like, this is so fake. It seemed so fake. I struggled getting through her testimony without keeping the eyes in the back of my head. I thought it was extremely terrible. I thought it was terrible acting. And then pay attention. She wipes all this moisture off of her face. I don't know if any of you guys have ever sobbed. I have. And I can tell you right now, like your tissues are fucking wet. They're wet at the end of it. Her tissues are completely just dry. She's just like dab, dab, dab. There's never any wetness. There's no moisture. And I'm not saying she didn't cry. I'm telling you, I saw tears. I saw a tear. At least one.
So after this incident, you claim that you had swelling to your face, right?
She's blowing her nose. I think the district attorney, I think the prosecutor went very easy on her, but people are pissed at her.
It's going to take a minute. All right,
Yes.
jury, please close up your nose. Put them on your chairs.
She covers her face so nobody can actually see if there's tears. So you can just hear the sobbing. You can hear it, but you can't actually see it. Can't actually see any tears. And the part that I say that I don't believe in the tears is because, once again, I don't know if you guys have ever sobbed, but I'm telling you, your face is swollen, you're fucking red, you're puffy, your eyes are like all like glossy. She's fine.
So after this incident, you said you had swelling.
I mean, she's somber, which is just her resting face that she's maintained this entire time. But no, I don't buy it. There's no, look at her. There's nothing about a woman here who's been crying. Like, where's the puffiness? Where's the redness in her eyes? I don't see nothing. I don't know. I was disturbed listening to it. And like I said, I don't mean to take away from anybody who's been through something that is actually traumatic. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. So that's where I'm at with it. They ask her a lot of questions. I guess I'm not going to play the entire thing. This is the prosecutor who was going to supposedly file charges against Doug after the T-set incident, but then she was no longer with the prosecutor's office, so then charges never got filed, and they try to say it's because she left, and so she was never able to file the charges. Like her cases wouldn't have gone to somebody else who could have made a decision to file the charges. Ultimately, the decision was to not charge him with anything. So this was just a proffer. The jury was not in the room at the time. Amy Carlton is the other person who I thought called 911 from all the pre-trial stuff, but they don't actually ask her about calling 911, nor do they play any call of hers. So maybe she's just a witness to the hearing the gunshots, but from everything from before, they made it sound like there was two that called 911 and that she was one of them. So take that as a grain of salt because they don't talk about it on the stand. But she was out walking her dog with her husband and she heard the gunshots. She's a fucking nervous wreck on the stand. I felt so bad for this lady. Like, she looked like she was a domestic violence survivor. Like, I was like, holy shit. Like, she is losing her. She is having a hard time. She's having a really hard time. So that was in front of the jury. Then they let the jury go, and Bruce Ferris takes the stand for the Daubert hearing. This is the one I tell you guys, go back and listen to it, but replace what he's saying and make Doug the victim and Ashley the perpetrator. It's eye-opening, and some of the things that are being said. And once again, that doesn't mean that I don't think that she had some type of fear from what he did in 2017. I just don't think that fear really created into what would be known as self-defense of any type of battered spouse syndrome, especially because they didn't live together. They talk about this wheel of abuse, essentially. It's like a power and control wheel that he has. There's a lot of things on this that, like, I'm like, this could go either way. Like, if he testified for the prosecutor, like, it could go either way here. You know what I mean? On the things that she also did to him that he did to her. But like I said, this is not in front of the jury yet. This was the Daubert hearing at the end of Friday. Judge is making the decision on what and how he can testify come Monday morning. But he's definitely an intelligent man, so I take nothing away from him. He's very intelligent. I just am. There was a couple interesting things that he says he actually spoke to Ashley for 15 to 20 hours, but then tries to say he did not use those conversations as any of his resources to the decision that he's made, to the opinion that he has as an expert. I do think he will end up testifying as a DV expert. I think, if I recall correctly, the prosecutor did stipulate, like, yeah, we do think that he is an expert in DV. He is not an expert in battered spouse syndrome. But I think some of the context and content of what he is going to be able to testify to is what the judge is going to rule on Monday morning before he's able to take the stand. And the prosecutors are like, yeah, he spoke to her for like 20 hours and he's trying to say that he didn't use that. That's not going to work. And he's like, no, I only use the documents from this case. I'm like, well, then why talk to her at all? Why have 20 hours? So the biggest thing is the defense cannot say that Dr. Bruce Ferris evaluated Ashley, because if the defense had Ashley evaluated by anybody, would automatically mean that the prosecutor could have Ashley evaluated. So they cannot say she was evaluated. So he's on the stand saying, oh yeah, we just talked, I just listened, I just talked to her, so I didn't actually create like an evaluation. But the reality is he talked to her for 15 to 20 hours as an expert witness. So Susie, oh, you like this guy? I liked him too. I just think that he's going to have some, there's going to be some issues with the fact that he's not a battered spouse expert, so he cannot testify to that as an expert. Why was he talking to her for almost 20 hours? Those are problematic to me. I think he's very intelligent. I think he absolutely knows what he's talking about. But like I said, this was not in front of a jury. This is not his testimony. This was during a Daubert hearing for the judge to decide if he can be an expert and what he can actually testify to. He shouldn't be allowed in. Well, so Mika's headphones, I'm glad you brought that up because I was talking about this in my chat last night or this morning. I don't remember which one, but it's like the defense went with the stand your ground, right? That's what they wanted, all the charges dismissed on the stand your ground for Florida. And the judge was like, no, the charges stand. Everything is, they have proven that they have enough to go forward. So he does not dismiss it. So they essentially try to use this weird combination. The defense in trial is using this weird combination of stand your ground plus DV plus battered spouse syndrome. And even the judge is like, well, I don't really know which one I don't really know what, like, so are you using this or are you not using this? It's almost like he purposely tries to muddy the waters so that he's like, let me just throw a little bit of everything in there. Let me just throw a little bit of it at all of it. And so ultimately he's just trying to say that there was this battered spouse syndrome because she was abused back in 2017, but nope, can't use that. So now there's DV from 2017. They're like, no, really can't use that, but they won't allow this stand your ground to really be anything huge to dismiss it. So how do you fight stand your ground to a jury when you shouldn't have been charged to begin with under stand your ground if that's truly what it was and the judge thinks that's what it was? Does that make sense? Like, I don't know. It's very confusing. So I don't really know what they're trying to do. Somebody asked, what is her dad like? So her dad left when she was 15. He left her mom and left her. She was an only child. And I can only speak on rumor of this because I do not know, but it was rumored that the mom had some issues and the dad was like, nope, I'm fucking done. I'm not doing this anymore, and bounced when she was 15. I do not have anything to back that up or prove that. It is literally a rumor from just looking at the case for so long. So yeah, he's a DV awareness guy, not a battered spouse evaluator. Right. Why not? Says, sincere question to other DV survivors. When you tried to get help, were you believed? I wasn't until they found his arrest records. It changes you forever, no matter who apologizes later. That's tough. I'm sorry that nobody believed you. And I'm glad that you're here still to tell us about it. Jay says, I've been in an abusive relationship, and the last thing I would ever do is invite my abuser over and choose to be alone with him. So that's another part that I struggle with on this whole part where I feel premeditation. She's not charged with first degree. She's charged with second. But if you are so afraid of this person mentally, emotionally, physically, in any which way, why would your mom not stay there? Why would you not be there with your mom? Why would your mom leave you in that situation? Why do you have 3 loaded guns in a house that's essentially packed up? Those are the types of things that just don't add up to me. Like I said, if you go back to their actual relationship, I believe it was absolutely toxic. She was leading him to believe they were going to be together while she's dating some other guy and gets a ring from him, whether she calls it an engagement ring or not. They're following each other around. He's putting a tracker on her car. She's following him around to see who he's with and who he's talking to. They had some jealousy issues, yet they couldn't maintain a relationship together. The whole thing is they should not have been together. There's no doubt about it. They were absolutely toxic. Yeah, first degree would be harder to convict. Look at Casey Anthony. True. It does seem that she has a weird relationship with her mom. So that wraps up the first 4 days of testimony and my thoughts and opinions on it. I thank you guys for hanging out with me. I plan on being back tomorrow. It's very tough right now with the Chitlins and their last minute summer plans when none of them actually drive yet. So I hate telling you guys I'm going to do something and then I'm not able to do it. But my plan is to be back tomorrow to discuss this. We also have some Delphi stuff that'll be happening this week. So I have a couple things going on for that. Let me get this down. But other than that, like I said, I thank you guys for hanging out with me, and thanks for, it's Sunday, so I'm going to go have dinner with the mom and making steak and potatoes, so can't miss that. But I appreciate you guys being here. I know that you guys have 1,000 other places that you guys could hang out, and yet for whatever reason, you guys still choose to come and hang out with me, even sometimes when you don't agree with me. But I appreciate you guys being here. Go enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will hopefully, fingers crossed, see you tomorrow. Have a good one.
Do you dare to follow me down? Head into the unknown. Down the rabbit hole. Where it stops, no one knows. We're going head into the unknown.